into distance until they're no longer visible to the human eye into a point, because all objects would disappear into the vanishing point. On the globe, they disappear bottom up because there is a curve. On the flat Earth, that would never happen.
Into the vanishing line.
Exactly.
Which is a bunch of vanishing points at eye level.
Exactly.
Right, but that's if the object maintained the same plane
altitude.
Distance. Right, the same plane
altitude. Elevation. Yeah.
It would converge into the eye level.
No, what's happening is that you flat earthers are confusing elevation
with curvature.
Okay.
But we can back this up by looking down the hallway.
The starting point is where you base the plane of your altitude on, but you're confusing that with the consistent distances from the surface along the curved plane. Oh, I'm sorry, along
the eye level divides it into top and bottom half. Everything would converge into that eye level.
No, that's not how a lens works. A lens works.
That's how perspective works, and that's also how lenses work as well.
But if you look at the experiments that flat earthers do with cameras on the sides of tables, if you cut the lens into half, you're basically sticking your eyeball into the ground halfway. That's not how we see.
Eye level is the elevation above the surface.
Okay, so a normal person is what, 5-6 feet high, correct? If you take the Rayleigh criterion, and apply that to real life, then the Burj Dubai, which is 830 meters high, that building would disappear at 2,377 kilometers into a dot. But it disappears bottom up way before that at 103 kilometers. We can't see it anymore.
The eye level would divide the Burj into a top and bottom half with a length. Since most of it would be on the top rather than the bottom would vanish out first at angular resolution.
No, that's not true.
You're not actually conveying a coherent thought. You're not actually providing any type of descriptive information there. You're just saying
because this is very technical.
What you're describing is perspective, which I understand and which I've heard
before. This is what you see when you look down a hallway with the top and bottom half of your vision eye level.
That's not what happens when you look down a hallway. That isn't. You can still see the door at the end of the hallway. No, you can still see. If there's a door at the end of the hallway, you can still see the door at the end of the hallway.
3 to 6 miles out, you're going to still see that door.
Yes.
Based upon the observer, if you were to literally turn upside down, then what you would experience is the objects bending up, and you should be able to see them. This is based upon your understanding.
Yeah. That would happen as well, yeah. You reorient your eyes and that would look opposite, yeah.
Some kind of bowl, like as if I'm in some type of valley. I should see myself in a valley as I turn upside down, and I don't.
Real world perspective.
Yeah, what would happen if you flip upside down, it would appear to go into quote unquote the ceiling, it would go into the limiting surface.
But it doesn't.
Also, 3 points. Real perspective will never cause the object to appear clipped. If the object is visible at the bottom, no. Okay, then how we talk about the proof that the Earth is curved?
We have a straight standard that we measure the curvature of the Earth against, like a laser.
Which laser?
And
FE core? Because I can
prove a flat Earth more than a curved one. There's no 8 inches per mile squared of curvature. There's no hump of curvature.
8 inches. Wait. First of all, 8 inches per mile squared is a calculation for a parabola, not a sphere.
The moment you make it per mile squared, it's 8 inches. The moment you do that, it's 8 inches. You have to have a unit that shows how much it would drop per mile squared. That's 8 inches. The moment you do that.
Yeah, I know, but the other guy's right that if you do the whole thing out, it's a parabola. But for the things that we use it for, it's definitely reasonable to use that.
And then
that is a rough approximation that works for up to 100 miles before you start to get really any appreciable
but the issue here is beyond 100 miles, Lemon.
That one still works out to more or less 8 inches per mile squared.
Okay.
Also, the 8 inches per mile squared does not include the actual path of light, not the observer's height, and the observed object.
It's based off of the globe of the dimensions that you guys give us relative to a tangent on the surface of that ball.
No,
this is just the globe.
No, Lemon's right.
Okay, sorry.
It's correct, but what you said is correct also, that to get an actual number that's useful to you, you're going to need your altitude and all that other kind of stuff.
Exactly. So it's a tangent line. Yes. It's a tangent line. You're talking about drop, not about the height of the object and the path of light. That's a difference.
It still would work
Here's a
out to
good
roughly
question for
8
you.
inches.
How high must an object be?
Guys, you have to let Levin respond in between, because if both of you guys say something to him,
he's back and forth between several people. Flatten, what were you saying?
Oh, show this here. There you go.
Flatten, you were saying?
It's real easy, Lemon. You're assuming that objects in the distance can be obscured by the so-called perspective. So think about this. You're looking, let's say, west, and you see an object obscured by perspective in a long distance. Okay, I'm trying to be colloquial here, and I apologize. At some point, that object in that distance is visible when it's higher up. Like, let's say it's 20 miles straight up than it otherwise would be. You should be able to see it. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, now, once you determine where that cutoff point is, where there's an equation that you flat earther you should be using to determine where your perspective distance height ratio is. Do you have anything like that?
What's his name? Life is Short tries to cobble up equations. It's basically the angular resolution of light. So you take the height of the object, h equals d, the distance to the object, times the tangent of the angular resolution of light, theta, which is 22 degrees.
Going fast makes me think that you're trying to mislead me. Could you slow it down?
Sorry. H, the height, equals d, the distance, times the tangent of theta, the angular resolution of light, 0.02. That's the general formula.
The angular resolution of light
tries to cobble together math formulas for this purpose. Please
Lemon,
look.
What is angular resolution of light? What does that refer
his
to?
Videos. I'll put the video in the chat.
No. You just said angular resolution of light, which is not a coherent thought. So you're going to have to explain yourself, or we can just ignore you.
Lemon, try to give us a colloquial understanding of angular resolution of light.
It's easy, but okay. I'll shut up.
I don't know, but I don't actually understand how that has to do anything with the ground I'm standing on. That I've seen Chicago at 54 miles with my own eyes. I've been on a boat as well, and you don't have any refraction and any proof of refraction that can bend light in that manner. And I've talked to Jim Panda about that as well, and he admits that. So why do you guys claim refraction if you don't have any proof of that refraction at 54 miles?
You can see that in the Black Swan.
The
picture shows it.
Talking about what's his name? Josh Kohicke's
A picture does not prove refraction.
You said something. I was in the middle of talking. Please let me finish my thought before you interrupt.
I was sorry. I was just answering back the other person. Go ahead, Ann.
That Josh Kohicke, I can't remember his last name exactly, but he's actually took that picture from a sand dune. It's not from the ground. That picture actually makes sense mathematically on the globe.
It actually doesn't, and I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm at to travel to Michigan again. So I don't think a lot of people have done their own observations with their own eyes instead of using a camera.
I certainly have done my own observations, so you're not talking.
I'm not saying you, but a lot of people that are speaking on this haven't. So okay, let's give it. That's fine. Let's say 54 miles, right? So why am I saying it?
You can see Chicago skyline 54 miles away with your own eyes.
Absolutely.
What elevation were you on?
Well, before we get to that, Sandy, are you able to post that picture where we can, sorry, Stacey, where we can see where Walter Bisley modeled, he made a model that shows that that shows that your photo matches the model. Because I think that's an important point.
Yeah, I think wait, are we talking about the Joshua Kohicke Chicago skyline photo?
No, I was talking about yours. But if you want
because I think she was talking about Joshua Kohicke or whatever. Okay. Chicago skyline from whatever.
I'm talking actually about my own observations. I'm actually not talking about Joshua's. I've seen my own self on a boat that was probably about 47 miles from my family.
Let's go through yours then, Stacey. What elevation?
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
The one that Joshua's done is at 240 feet. I've also been to that park. Also, a friend of mine that was from another server just went to that same park. I've been with my family at 8 years old seeing this stuff. That's what got me into this in the first place, is when I learned the curvature and seeing it.
You know what I mean? We need the details.
Yeah.
Correct. If you're saying we're seeing something we shouldn't be seeing, we really need to get down to
Well,
the
but the thing is you guys have multiple details of it seeing too far.
Stacy,
54 miles, 250 miles.
Stacey.
You know what I mean?
What you're talking about.
Can I make one comment real quick?
Yeah, go
Stacy,
ahead.
Stacy, we have, over the course of the lifetime of this server, we have broken down a bazillion of these claims, and every single time they match the globe. So what we're asking for you is, because we have a skeptical side to us, because all the other claims before this didn't seem to have a problem. What we're asking for you is, where were you located when you saw the Chicago skyline? That's it. All we need to know is your GPS coordinates. That's it.
Correct. And I'm going to be honest with you right now. I was a child when I saw this stuff. So did I get my GPS coordinates? Now, here's the thing. I can go back there right now today, and I can see it from many different spots.
I think you should. I think you should. I think you should go make
I'm about to travel to Michigan again. Yes.
Do it. We will all be here.
We'll talk
There's
about it.
also the elevation of the Chicago skyline. Like, you may have seen the tops of the towers as a child.
Oh, it's almost the entire skyline, guys. Okay,
no, but that's not even in the Joshua Nowicki photos. We just see the tops of the buildings, and they're very stretched as well, which is also showing refraction, because the buildings don't actually look the way they look in the picture.
If you're seeing over 50 miles by the globe math, you're not supposed to see further based off your height than your height in feet, the square root of that times 1.225 to give you the output in miles that you should see to the hump that would obstruct something your height or lower. So if you're seeing 54 miles, you just reverse engineer the math, and that should give you a rough estimate of how high you would have had to have been above the surface to see that far. So 54 divided by 1.225, and then
you're forgetting
2,000 feet had to be above the surface to see that. Stacy, were you 2,000 feet or 2 blocks above the surface?
Absolutely not.
She probably
where is your account for refraction in your maths?
Lemon. We're not using fraction as the rubber ruler. Foolish decisions. We're not going to do that. We're just going to talk about the geometric basis alone.
Just let's keep it
Lemon, your calculation will require knowing where she was. What she just admitted, she didn't even know where she was. So what?
I'm just establishing how high she was above the surface. Were you 2 blocks above the surface? Yes or no?
You would have to know where she was to see it, Lemon.
Were you 2,000 feet above the surface?
To make that
Let's be honest. How can I be? I was on a boat.
No.
On the water.
Exactly. But that calculation he's trying to make only makes sense if you know the distance from the object, which you don't know.
No. I do know. No, when I'm at literally getting on a boat off the shore, okay, correct? And we're not that far in, and I don't care how old I am, right?
What marina?
I will give you all that. In fact, I'll contact my aunt today and see if I can give you pictures back then. Now, I do.
That would be nice.
GPS coordinates. I'm gonna be honest. I was 8. She wasn't doing that.
Let's take a breath for a second. Wait. Let's take a breath for a second, and let's point out that she's still not giving us a distance or a location, and Lemon's trying to do calculations based on not knowing where she was.
She just said she was in a boat. That means that she's at sea level. That's 0 feet. She would have to be 2,000 feet around there or higher to have it 54 miles away.
I see, 54 miles away. How do you know she's 54 miles away, Lemon?
That's taking the geometric consideration of the math, which says it's 1.225 times your height in feet above the surface, the square root of that, to get the output of the number of miles, the hump that would obstruct your height or lower.
Somebody
when you geometric math, if it's 54 miles away, divided by 1.225, and you square that, that's her height in feet above the surface. Unless she's 2,000 feet or higher above the surface, she should not see anything that far that is her height or lower.
There's no way.
Stacy, how far away were you?
Like I told you, we literally were just gotten off the boat, off the shore. I will tell you exactly the park that we were at. In fact, I think it was the same park that Joshua was at. So therefore, I will find out exactly that for you. But do I have the GPS coordinates exactly? No, I'm not going to do that because I was 8 years old. I just came across this last year.
I'm asking you for your best calculation, which place you're at, which marina you're at. We can find the GPS coordinates.
Absolutely. Then that's wonderful. I'm not going to claim something right now. That's the kind of person I am that I don't know. When I say I don't know something, or if I don't have that information, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no, you're being honest. Lemon is being dishonest. That's the point.
So,
well, I'm not saying Lemon's being dishonest, because Lemon's information that he's actually saying right now is factual. And for me, listen,
yeah, but
for
he's
me, I feel
leaving
like
out
this.
stuff. He's leaving
But here's
out
the
stuff.
thing: Joshua didn't leave out anything. That was at 240 feet, and even then, you should not see Chicago at all. That you can pull at the mass, you can do all your mass, but how does that match your globe? Refraction?
We're not convinced.
You said the answer. When Lemon described what he described, he specifically left that out for some reason. Even though I know he knows that it's a real thing and it happens in real life, so there's no reason to claim that equation will give you the maximum distance to what you see.
That is only the geometric basis without refraction, which can go for both models and really varies depending on your understanding of how.
We don't see a geometrical horizon. We don't see a geometrical horizon. That's not what we see.
Well, if there's no geometric basis, how do you know that you have a ball? You could be basing your refraction models off of a flat surface instead of a ball.
Because things disappear bottom up and not
perspective
into a point.
Can do that with the top and bottom half of your vision merging into one object, one line due to angular resolution limits, where the top and bottom half of your vision are no longer distinguishable as two separate zones or two separate objects.
That's not what we see in real life, though.
The basic problem I've got with the whole way you're going here, Lemon, is one for if the Earth was flat, and we agree that looming is the most common form of refraction we see in the atmosphere. If the world was flat, then really it should curve up slightly, and it doesn't. And that
that's based off of a
huge problem for the flat Earth.
That's based off of the bad understanding of how light travels. You think of it traveling like a line, a string, or a ray. It would be more like the ether band that Planar Walk was talking about, where you have a medium that resonates. It gets the light information, resonates, and presents an image to your eye like a mirror, like a painting, like the wall. That is a much more accurate understanding of refraction, and if the right layer is there, you're going to see it over a flat line.
Is immaterial. The mechanism is immaterial to the fact that when we observe refraction, things seem to be loomed up. That's what we see, regardless of the method. So
it's just peeking up out of the convergence zone.
Yeah, I haven't convention. So the fact that we don't see the edges of the flat Earth looming up above our eye line, to me, is a problem with your model.
Because the air layer isn't there. The air layer is there where you're looking. It's not left or right.
Upturned edge. Do we not see that?
No.
According to Auguste Piccard, it looked like a disc with upturned edge when he was in the hot air balloon.
Let me ask a simple question. Let me ask: what angles what is the angle of a triangle with sizes 1, 1, and 1?
60, 60, 60. You're not the
good. That's good. On a flat surface, that would be the case. But in geodetic surveying, every single triangle is more than 180 degrees.
Sided with curving, distorting lenses that add curvature. The land itself is flat.
One thing to say that we haven't been telling these clowns for years. I'm curious.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you said so far, you have to remember there's people who have been here for a long time, so this isn't news to either the flat earthers or the globers.
There's no curvature. Lasers punch through this supposed curvature, and the curvature would become more pronounced as you go north and south.
Which experiment showed that? Because if you're going to say FE core, I can debunk that all the way.
Oh, go ahead. FE core, JT,
really?
Jay Tolan seeing over 1,000 miles with infrared. We have long distance observations. The
Jay Tolan 1 was wrong in his observations. He didn't actually correctly name the mountains that he observed.
Overall,
that's one.
How about Jay Tolan 2, Jay Tolan 3, and the other observations he made? Can you debunk those?
Yes, I will link you that right now. And as for the FE core one, what observation at what distance are we talking about? Because a laser is only collimated for a certain amount of distance. They observed a point. They lied about the results because a laser it's coherent light, but it still diffracts, so it still becomes wider as distance goes further. The laser that they used was collimated for I believe 0.02 degrees. If you take the distance and do a simple trigonometry, then their laser beam should have ended up in a 6.2 meter wide blob of light.
I hate to say it twice.
6.2 meters? That's like what, 18 feet? The curvature of the Earth would have put the light up at like 200 feet. That's still not enough.
And that's what we observed when they showed the videos. You see the laser in the air.
A 200-foot spread.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we saw.
You said it was 18. 18 on both sides is like 36. That's not 200 feet.
Trigonometry. You want to... Yeah, but they showed a point, which is impossible. So they lied about the results.
You're trying to say something.
It is possible because the Earth is flat and it's not a ball. You need to drop the ball.
Light doesn't work that way. Lasers do not work that way. That's what I'm trying to say.
Light doesn't work the way that you're talking about with this string that travels in a straight line. At best, you have a medium that presents you the image if it absorbs enough of the optical information and releases enough of the optical information to your eye. Your notion of how light travels is a little off. It is not this line that just travels ping, ping, ping like a deflecting straight line. It is more like information that is absorbed and released by a medium. Over a flat plane.
Okay, what is light then? Is it a particle or a wave?
It is a wave of undulations of the ether. It is a wave of undulations of the ether. Waves that just go out.
Okay, so
waving medium.
So first, ether has been disproven. That's one.
No, it is not. It was abolished
Can I say something? This is my problem with flat Earth. Right here, even on the other servers, it's all about what? Claiming stuff, both sides, but in reality, you guys are claiming refraction of why we see too far, yet have no proof of refraction being able to do that in a scientific experiment. So if it's not a scientific experiment, wait, please let me finish.
Sorry.
If it's not a scientific experiment, then therefore it is not science. So I don't want a picture showing, oh look, there's the refraction that we're talking about.
I will show you.
There needs to be an actual experiment with light bending in that manner.
We do have that,
Jim Panda will show you
go,
it doesn't exist.
There you go, Stacy. The same. Yeah, exactly. I posted it in the debate right now. That's light refracting right there. The same horizon at different looming states or different apparent states because of refraction.
54 miles? You have 54 miles plus of light bending in that manner. No, you don't. You can't create that.
I don't think 54 miles is
yes,
distance,
we actually.
I think 54 might actually be.
What you're saying? Wait.
One at a time. Let Stanley go. Go ahead, Stanley.
I'm not. I actually need to go. Yeah. First of all, we do have refraction experiments showing refraction is a real thing.
You do sugar mediums and stuff, and we don't live in a sugar medium. But okay.
Let me finish. That's how lenses work. I mean, lenses literally work based on other principles of refraction. So we know how refraction works. So we do know that refraction is a thing, and we also do know by just observation, like you can just observe a single place for one day, that it changes, right? I mean, sometimes you see looming, sometimes you see sinking. Obviously, the light rays are bending through the atmosphere, and that, by definition, is called refraction. That's the label we give that observation is refraction. So
the thing is
it does happen. This observation,
it does happen, but it's being used as a rubber rule.
Stop.
It's basically the conversation without any sort of limit. Anyway, that's going to make your globe unfalsifiable. So you guys have to limit the amount of refraction that you're willing to allow in the experiment to make your thesis unfalsifiable, and we're not seeing that.
Finish the idea, please.
Stacy, I'm trying to catch what you're saying.
You guys can just interrupt the beginning of my, or in the middle of my sentence with the beginning of your
guys. This was Soundly and Stacy.
Right, it was. Please, Lemon, please just lay off just for a couple of minutes. You can jump in on White Knight in a few minutes from now. Go ahead, Sam.
So, Stacy, here's the thing. We have observations, and what everybody is kind of foggy about is this due to some type of atmospheric phenomenon that's causing the light to bend in a certain way to make it look exactly like the shape of a globe that we expect it to look?
Right.
Or is the geometry actually that, and we're seeing it, and the refraction really has little consequence?
Correct, right.
Those are the two options we have. So what we really need is an experiment that lets us avoid the optical effects. And the way you can do that is by doing GPS profiles to determine what the actual physical shape of the bridge is, or of the object or whatever. And we have done that. We've done those things. We've done GPS profiles, and it shows that there is refraction, but the refraction is basically minimal. I mean, it doesn't really account for the curvature that you're seeing.
Correct. So if you don't have something, and I'm just being intellectually honest here, just like I was saying earlier, that I don't have something, If you don't have something proving that type of refraction, then how can it be claimed?
But we do.
Wait. You have a sugar medium aquarium at an angle is the only thing you have that tries to show light bending in that direct manner. And then it doesn't prove shit.
Wait a second. Examples we just showed.
I just gave you an example where the easiest thing to do to prove that refraction is occurring to yourself, right, is to actually just set up a camera that records for like 10 hours, right, and then watch the refraction occur in your actual footage. You'll see it happening throughout the day.
Okay, but here's the problem: is it could be different every single time. So you're seeing a phenomenon, right? I'm seeing Chicago being distorted, and the next day I'm just seeing it clearly because the atmosphere. Is it a rainy day? Is it foggy out? How is it going to be? How is light going to hit the damn things? Is it heat, cold? All those things go into play, right?
Right.
It has nothing to do with light bending that degree. Do people understand how much light would have to bend for that to work for refraction of looming of Chicago skyline?
You said there's a GPS profile to contrast it with.
0.2 degrees.
What is the GPS profile based on? The presupposed position and radius of the Earth?
No, it doesn't.
On a micro, maybe, but on a macro, maybe not.
GPS, all it is it records X, Y, and Z coordinates. That's at the rawest level. It just records X, Y, and Z coordinates. It has nothing to do with a globe or sphere or radius or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that.
No, none of your calculations at all have to do with the presupposed ball. Nothing, right?
GPS doesn't work that way, right? GPS
How does
basically
GPS work? You understand GPS at all, by the way?
Yeah. Well, do you believe that GPS works at all? Do you believe that? That's the first thing.
And it's ground based, but yes, GPS does work. Obviously, we have GPS. I use it when I go to Michigan. You know what I mean?
Okay. For the sake of the argument, let's say it's ground based. So that GPS receiver tells you your X, Y, and Z coordinate. That's what it tells you. Okay. So just go.
How is it getting X, Y, Z coordinates? How are you programming that for X, Y, Z? You have to put in the radius because you guys have not measured the entire Earth. You didn't in Antarctica.
No, they could have a pure open X, Y, Z. They could have a tainted one. It could be tainted, but it's not like
You're really not helping at all. Do you want to respond to that, Stanley? Because there's some confusion there, I believe.
Okay, so there is a system called GPS. We don't really care how it works. All we care is that it does work. You agree that it does. Okay, so
no, wait. I have to know how it works. I cannot base something on, I don't know how it works. That's incorrect already. That's intellectually dishonest.
Stacey, stop. He's not saying he's not going to explain to you how it works. He's saying that you are both agreed that it does work, regardless of what shape the Earth is. Or what shape you think the Earth is.
Okay, I'm sorry. He did say, though, that we don't know how GPS works. So if that's the case, then that's a problem.
He did not say that. I conceded to you that it could be ground-based, but I don't agree with you. But I'm conceding to you that. It doesn't really matter how it works. It matters that it does work. If it does work, then we get accurate X, Y, and Z coordinates every time we take a recording with the GPS receiver. So drive across the nation, taking X, Y, and Z coordinates, get all those X, Y, and Z coordinates, and then just plot them into a three-dimensional graph and see what it looks like. That's all I'm asking you to do. That's it.
So you're asking me to use GPS to get the measurements of the Earth to figure out the curvature, yet we don't have all the measurements of the Earth because I can't go to Antarctica and all the places of the globe?
No, but what he's saying is, let me have a quick go, Stanley.
Go ahead.
What he's saying is that if you plot those coordinates, and all they will be is numbers where you can plot a point in 3D space on a X, Y, and Z axis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you were to do that, and you were to do that over various points on the surface of the Earth, what you will end up with is something that represents at least a part of a globe, for obviously the bit that you've been to, not a flat Earth. And they all they are is points in 3D space, but they will form a globe, or at least part of one. Right, Stanley?
That's my problem. Part of one. We're talking about actually finding the curvature.
You'd have to do all over the Earth, wouldn't you? But we're talking about
absolutely.
Right, but we're talking about what you could personally do. And I think what you could personally do with hang on, with not too much effort, is come up with, let's say you did 3 measurements and flew to 2 cities from where you are now and then flew back again. I think that would be sufficient to tell you at least, a big chunk of the United States was on a curve, if you like.
Oh, yeah. There definitely should be curvature showing in all these, yes.
You can do 7 miles. You can stay in the same city and just go in like 7-mile stretches in different areas and put that on there, and you would see that you would have just mapped the surface of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can in the United States. You can drive from say start in Baton Rouge, and you could drive due west all the way out to the west side of Louisiana, and that's what 100 and something miles. I mean, even if you took a simple trip like that over, a stretch of highway like that, you're going to see like curvature out of that
2-degree arc.
So how could you access the GPS 3D data? Because normally we just get it onto a mapping app, right? So how could you get that raw data, soundly?
Yeah, well, actually, in the United States, for some reason, there's some type of restrictions for our mobile devices. You have to get like a Garmin or something like that.
Yeah, I'm actually making an app. There's a way you can get the you can get the permission or whatever, or you can get the raw data given to you in like a weird raw data form. So I'm trying to make an app that does that. But yeah, like you said, it's
Rhinix files. You need the Rhinix files. What you need, basically.
There are modules for microcontrollers such as Arduino. When you connect those GPS modules with the Arduino, they will give you raw data, and that can be read out with a library, right?
Yeah. So at one point, we actually were talking about being able to go straight from Rhinix to like rendered on Walter Vislin's website, but that never happened. I can't remember why. I think we just dropped the project at some point. But basically, you need the Rhinix files, and then you just plot the coordinates from that.
Can I ask you a question now? What does this have to do with proving light bending in that manner? If like I'm being derailed from the actual subject at hand because you guys don't have the information.
No,
It's also circular logic because the GPS is programmed with a low assumption of opioid.
Yep.
Can I say something?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. Just answer the question though, but yeah.
MC Toon on his page actually got a result from a topography of the Bolivia salt flats GPS locate or GPS coordinates.
Nice. Can you link that to us?
Yes.
Yeah, me and Sean G had a debate about that 3 years ago.
Well, see, my problem is like, I understand you guys don't want to use our pictures, and that's perfectly fine because I don't believe pictures is proof of anything. It needs to be actually verified over and over in a scientific experiment that things can happen in that way. So for me, the globe model has curvature. I'm supposed to see it, right? I go look, I can see Chicago. Okay, now it's refraction. Now I'll give you its refraction even. I will give you guys that. It's looming. Okay, but then I need to know that. I need to see that proof. I'm not here talking about trigonometry. I'm a regular 37-year-old woman who has realized now that the earth is flat. If you guys can show me, and I'm being very, very serious here, if you can show me that curvature exists and the globe model has the proof, then I will change my mind.
Well,
and I will be supporting that.
We can, Stacy. I mean,
but I want scientific proof. I want scientific experiments because a picture is not.
But why? Why do you want a scientific
experiment? Because that is science, Jim Pan. That science is a scientific experiment repeated over and over to show you proof. If not, it is pseudoscience, honey.
Right, hold on. Hang on. Let me just get in here for a minute, Sandy.
Yeah, go
First of all, Stacey, of the things that you currently know, I must have asked you this before. How many of them? How many of them are the result of a scientific experiment?
You want the honest truth? Truth?
Yeah.
Most of the things in this world is not based on a scientific experiment, and that's my problem. Because science is no longer science and hasn't been science for a very long time.
Okay, but you're not answering my question at all. Okay.
No, I admit you that most of the stuff that we have right in the world for science is not based on a scientific experiment. You're right.
Right, but you're not answering.
But it needs to be.
Right, Stacey, you're not answering my question, okay? This is my question. If you were to write down a list of everything that you know You say, this is a thing I know to be true. If you were to write a list of all those things, okay, how many of those things could you put next to it? I know this because of a scientific experiment.
My own intellectual honesty, probably only a few in my hand.
Right, that would be true of me as well. So we could conclude one of two things from this, I think. Either you only know a few things, or you can know things without a scientific experiment.
No, you believe things without a scientific experiment. You don't know. You believe.
Right, well, now you've changed, haven't you? Because I asked you about the things that you know to be true. And you said, there are things I know to be true, only a few things that I know to be true that are the result of a scientific experiment. Correct. So are you saying then that they're the only things you know and everything else is just a belief? Or are you saying that there are other things that you know?
I'm admitting that when you start realizing the things that you know, you start realizing you don't know shit. Most of the things in this world we don't know. It's based on things that we've been told by authorities. For instance, elements, how they work, everything. I'm so skeptical, and Jim, you should know this. I'm a very skeptical person about even the air I breathe. But there has to be proof of what is going on, right? Show me, and I'm not saying you, but the world needs to show us that. Whether I know it or not, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Right, well, look, I'll cut to the chase. I think that insisting on a scientific experiment is a dishonest tactic that flat earthers are using in order that they can ignore evidence. Let me finish. Let me finish. I need to make the point.
Okay.
It's a dishonest tactic that's being used so that you can pretend that some standard hasn't been met, that needs to be met and should be met and is normally met. When, as you've admitted, almost nothing that you currently know has met this standard, and yet you're insisting on it for this. And secondly, I would say that we can determine the shape and size of something by measuring it, and there's no reason. Measuring it does not require any kind of scientific experiment. It just requires that we measure it. If you want to check those measurements by repeating them, then that's fair enough. You could say that is somewhat scientific in its process. But all we need to know that the shape and size of something is measurements and nothing more.
But Stacy does have a good point that it needs to be systematically arrived at. I think when she's talking about science, she's talking about systematically arriving at this conclusion. There's so many holes that it was not systematically arrived at, and at that point, it's not scientific. It's just a cobbled together mess.
No, yes. I mean, there's no.
Well, can I say something to rebuttal what you're saying? To be honest, because this is how I feel. Is you're right on a lot of things that you're speaking on a lot of it. But here's the problem: the reason I feel the way I feel, and we need to start seeing what I know and don't know, and to claim that it's not scientific experiment because it doesn't make it science, is because the entire time, this whole globe model, the entire time, everything we've been taught has been based on what settled supposed science with no proof. So for me, science cannot be science unless it goes to the scientific method that they said that they ran, and they did, but have no proof of. That's my problem. I never made up the definition for scientific method. I didn't make it the definition for science. Flat earthers didn't do that either, by the way.
Quantum Eraser did, and you just believe.
Well, I don't agree with everything that Quantum Eraser does. I don't agree with how he yells at people, screams at people. I don't agree with how anybody does that. Okay, we can get a little heated, but we also need to be respectful of one another because we are representing people and about truth.
I'm talking about the fact that he's cobbled together this like a sort of a high school version of the scientific method, and is pretending it's some sort of gospel scripture that has to be applied to, and this is how science must be done, and everything that isn't this is pseudoscience. That's nonsense. It's not the view of anyone in science, anyone who does science. It's not a reasonable, logical view. It's not the view. It's not the view of someone who is genuinely interested in finding out facts about reality. It's the view of someone who needs to make their literal interpretation of the Bible comport with reality.
But it is a method that helps ferret out BS and show.
talking, Lemon. They need to make their literal version, their literal interpretation of Genesis comport with reality. And in order to do that, he has to make the Earth young. So he rejects astronomy, he rejects geology, he rejects paleontology, and says they don't make this standard. They're pseudoscience. He's the only person on Earth who's saying
out inconsistency so that it's not that.
Even the young Earth creationists will make the distinction between what they call observational science and historical science, or something like some other words. Even they don't call it geology, pseudoscience, or astronomy. That's quantum eraser.
Because you're basing stuff on apparent positions that you think you know. So astronomy cannot be applied to actual science that you can prove.
That's nonsense.
Why?
Sorry, but it's because we can make observations and we can make predictions based on those observations in astronomy
of apparent locations.
And those. Well, why are they apparent? What makes them
know exactly where they're at? 93 million miles away. You've been there. You've seen it. You've sent radio waves to it. What is your proof?
See them.
Because I can see something doesn't mean I know how far away it is. I mean, we're talking about light years. Am I seeing light years away and I can figure that out? I mean, come on here.
Please unmute. Flatten
distortion. We don't necessarily need to know the distance from something to make predictions, but we have made.
Yes, you do.
You don't. That's nonsense.
Then how can you predict something if you know nothing about it?
Well, knowing the distance to it is completely different to knowing nothing about it. They're two different things, aren't they? Your prediction might not require the distance. But the fact is, we can make astronomical predictions about things in our solar system, and it isn't all just about, we're just repeating the cycle of the clock. When a comet, for instance, comes into the solar system that nobody's observed before, astronomers are able to predict its path through the solar system. The same with, how many reports do you see every year? There's a large meteorite doing a near miss of Earth.
I don't believe in any of that nonsense.
Well, these are the facts of reality. We are able to make these predictions about what we see going on in the solar system.
Talking about distance isn't important.
Hang on. Just let me finish. Nearly there. I know I'm talking. Okay, if we can make a prediction, if we can have a hypothesis about something which we think is going to occur, and then we can check with our observation that thing did occur, then that's a way of testing our hypothesis. And it cannot always be done in a laboratory using a 4-step method that quantum eraser espouses. It just can't. And to just ignore everything else and just go, we just can't know it, is just, it's willful ignorance. And it's not someone who's a truth seeker. It's someone who's trying to ignore truth.
My problem is just in the conversation we had in the arena not too long ago, the fact that you said we don't need a radius, that just blows my mind. You need a radius to even prove what you're standing on. You need a radius to prove the distance of where they're going to other planets. So we've never been outer space. Is that what you're saying, Jim? Because you're not seeing stuff to Mars if you don't know that correct radius, right? To get back, the signals and all that matter.
I think at the time when you said that, I thought it was fairly sort of random and out of left field. And I don't need a radius. Listen, hang on.
Panda, hang on. No, wait a minute, Panda. Before you continue, I've linked an experiment measuring the Earth's radius using reciprocal zenith angles and a video linking.
No need to interrupt for that, man. Right. There's really no need to interrupt.
I'm just because he was talking about we don't need a radius.
Yeah,
because,
he was saying that he was asking somebody to help improve the radius.
Right, but for me, I don't need a radius. I don't rely on horizon observations to know that the Earth is spherical. I can know that the Earth is spherical from what I can see in the sky, from the position of Polaris, from the fact that we have 2 celestial poles, from the fact that there are thousands and thousands of pictures and hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of video of a spherical Earth, I can know that the Earth is spherical. Yes, and none of that requires that I know the radius.
Wow. So you're telling me that all these observations that they're doing, right, for your sun, planets, and everything that you believe in, that they don't need a radius?
No. Why would you need the radius of the Earth to know to be able to observe and know stuff about the sun? How does that come into it?
We can do radio wave. We can do it with radio waves now.
You gave the example of the sun, but all
the planets, everything in our solar system.
Let's go back to the Earth. Of all the things I've said, all of the two celestial poles, the position of Polaris, the pictures and video from space, none of that requires that I know a radius, and that was the point I was making to you. That's just some silly thing that Quantum Eraser and Nathan Oakley have got tied up in. You know, it's a sort of a.
You have to know a radius of the sphere spinning in space.
It's their next step on from the black swan. The idea is that because of the black swan, now we can't know a radius, and we've got no geometry, and we've all just got nothing. Well, that's nonsense. That isn't how I know that. I don't know that the Earth's flat because of silly horizon observations. That the Earth's a globe because of silly horizon observations. No one I know does that, knows because of that. So I mean,
let's get past the horizon then. Forget the horizon. Forget the sky, because it's apparent locations that you're never going to go to, Jim. None of us are, okay? So we're not going to believe in authority, and we're going to go with our own observations, right?
Right, so why are you ignoring? If you've got a clear view, half of everything that you observe is the sky, and you want to just ignore it, just hand wave it away and say, oh, it's the sky.
I went to
I don't care if you can go there.
I went to Sweden.
Okay, then if we can't go there and we're just going to go by what we know, right? Then how do you have gas pressure? Show me gas pressure existing without a container, and you weighing it and everything. Show me your measurements for gas pressure existing without a container. Show me a scientific experiment, please.
Just get a telescope.
You're not leaving this Earth.
Just get a telescope and look at Jupiter.
A telescope does not prove gas pressure without a container, Jim. Let's get real.
You said, show me gas pressure without a container. There you go. That's an example of it.
I'm asking for you to show me scientific experiment that you don't want to do because you want to avoid science. And that's very easy when we're talking about gas pressure. Come on here.
Because you show me. Well, look, if it's science that we're concerned with, Stacey, and you're not.
Wait. Science should be what we're all concerned for.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think I've explained, like I said at the start, almost everything you currently claim to know, you do not know because of science. So why are you sticking it on this pedestal and saying, absolutely
wait,
science?
I know some things due to science.
Some things, but hardly anything of all the things.
That's not my fault. Why don't you blame the globe model? Why don't you blame people that are teaching nonsense to our kids? It's not my fault.
It's not a fault. Most things we can know without science. We know things because they're supported by a body of evidence. We don't need some. Yes, a body of evidence.
What's evidence of proof? Because we went through that semantic stuff before. Which one are you talking about now?
We'll do it again if we have to. I believe, I've never been to China. I believe China exists because there's a body of evidence supporting the existence of China.
Go to China?
I don't need.
There's your answer.
So what?
Can I see a unicorn and show you a unicorn?
Hang on. Is going to China a scientific experiment?
We're not there.
I haven't experienced it by being there.
But that's because you haven't experienced something. That doesn't make it not real.
I know it exists, though, don't I?
Because you can see it and go to it. I cannot go to Jupiter.
I can't see China. How can I see China?
So, yes, you can.
How?
People are showing you, right? And you can go there and travel on a plane.
Right.
You can go there and see it physically.
Right, but what you're saying is people can show me pictures of it. Yes, that would be good.
No, you can go there.
Right. At the moment, I haven't been there.
But
and what you're telling me is hang on. What you're telling me is I should believe it's there because listen, this is important. You're saying I should know it's there because I know that I can go there, right?
You don't have to believe it's there if you want to believe in Narnia. I mean, you don't have to.
Stacey, come on, try harder.
Well, no, beliefs and knowing are right here is different. You have family, you have friends, you have people that have traveled the world to see Japan, China, whatever. You can actually get on a plane and travel there. I can't get on a plane and travel to fucking Jupiter. Sorry, I apologize. I cannot do that.
Please stop. All of that is a body of evidence that supports the existence of China. And as you reasonably state, that should lead me to listen. Don't lose attention. I've only been talking 10 seconds. That, as you quite rightly state, that body of evidence should lead me to the position of knowing that China exists. However, and this is the important part, unfortunately for you, none of that body of evidence is a scientific experiment. And that's my point. I know China exists without a scientific experiment based on a body of evidence. And this is the standard I apply to all of the things I know that I claim to know exist. I don't introduce some new special standard that quantum eraser dreamed up for one particular thing without any reasoning whatsoever. I believe
China being existing? That's not science, Jim Panda. It's not even considered science. So therefore, wouldn't it be even go into play? Is this science or not science?
I believe in.
What is science, Jim Panda? What is geometry? What are those things? Are they separate? Is astronomy different than science?
I believe in things because of a body of evidence, Stacey, and so do you.
Absolutely.
And
You're right.
That evidence, sometimes that evidence includes something scientific, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't just reject it because there's no quantum eraser experiment in it.
Then you're right, Jim. You know what? You're right.
The version he's given you of what science is or what science should be is false. It's his version only. If you want to
actually care, I don't want to debate. I don't want to degrade quantum eraser. I'm not here for that. Quantum eraser can be a content creator. I'm not here for content creation. I'm here for truth.
He's introduced this idea of scientific method, and it's bollocks. And it needs to be exposed as bollocks. And I'm sorry to keep.
Then leave it at that. But then why can't you guys also be intellectually honest, which you have been before, Jim, but you're not being on your server, and I don't understand that. But why can't you with me right now? Let me please speak. Why can't you then right now? You said evidence, right?
Yeah.
Okay, people have gone there. You can see China, so we can have that evidence, right? But where is the evidence of light bending in the manner that you're saying? Until I have that evidence of that exact light bending, it's freaking belief. You're making it up.
Clearly, it's
Where's
not.
the evidence?
Right.
Forget scientific method. Where is the evidence?
Well, that's something we do know via the scientific method.
So now we're going to use the scientific method for you, but you didn't want to use it before. Which one is it, Jim?
Again, Stacey, there's no contradiction. I made it very clear. I said I believe in things because of bodies of evidence, and the thing I said probably 45 seconds ago was that evidence sometimes includes something scientific, sometimes it doesn't. There's no contradiction. If we want to use science, we can. Insisting that we can only use a scientific experiment to know anything is absurd. That isn't most of the things you don't know via that method. So why are you pretending it's required?
It's double checking for systematic science, making sure that there aren't any holes in the theory. If there's no observed
measurements, you can just measure things and double check your measurement.
But the globe is built on a lot of pieces that don't really come together, namely gravity being universal attraction between masses. We don't see that apples attract the planet for that conception that you need to have for there to be a globe and curve.
So to go back to the question about refraction, this is something that is established with science. This is how we have a refractive index. This is how we're able to create lenses in telescopes and spectacles that work because of our understanding of these principles. So it isn't just something make-believe or made up. It's something that's well supported by many, many experiments and by practical applications in the real world. And
refraction based on a radius?
I'm definitely going to leave it there. Somebody else.
Is that refraction based on a radius?
Good job, Stace. Good job.
No.
If that refraction, wait, Jim. If that refraction is based on a radius, and you said there is no need for a radius, you're incorrect.
Again, it's
scientific method out the damn window again.
It's absolutely nothing to do with the radius. You're wrong.
He doesn't understand, right?
The refractive index. Listen, the refractive index is about how light moves through different. Is about how light moves through different materials. It has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. That's nonsense.
All right, Stacey. The problem is Stacey. The problem is with Globus. Hold on, let me get a word in. Wait for it.
I'm trying to say something fucking for 3 minutes, man. I posted something. I don't have to fucking post it again because you gotta jump in. So just shut up for a fucking second. I'm just letting her know. I posted 2 simulations where you can play around with the refraction, see what they do in different mediums, and you can test that. So you can
imaginary simulation.
So we have together. We've done this together. Let's be real.
Can I get a word in? Stace. The problem is he doesn't realise that obviously going to China, you can actually get on a plane and confirm it. So it's not analogous to going to Jupiter. You know, we can't go into space. We can't get a rocket and go there. Like he doesn't get that. For him, he's just saying, "Oh, well, I don't need to go there. I don't need to go there." Like to know it's real. It's not equivalent. And the fact is, we don't want a scientific experiment for everything in the world, but we do want it for things when you're claiming that we're flying on a spaceball monkey with gravity and fucking all these things. That's why we require such high standards, because these things are incredible for us to believe. It takes mental gymnastics to believe that we have gas pressure next to a low pressure system and nothing's happening because of this force called gravity, this magical gravity. So yeah, we're going to up our standards when it comes to these things that you're expecting us to believe.
Because it's still science, right? And if it's still science, then they have the proof of it. But therefore, you're saying that, well, we don't need to have the evidence. We're not going to put it through a scientific experiment. But then you go back to a scientific experiment to prove your refraction.
His point there was simply that to know things, you don't necessarily need science. You can know things for tons of different reasons. One, because maybe you observed it, and several people around you observed the same thing happen. That's one way you can know something happened. But another way, the way that's a very consistently, useful way and to investigate things is to use science. Science is a thorough way of coming to know something. So it's not, his case wasn't that you don't ever need it, and it wasn't the case that you always need it. He was just saying that there's things that you can know without science. There's other ways to know things, maybe just by evidence.
But isn't it funny?
But science, obviously.
Coach, you're confusing the situation. We've already said it clearly. Not everything we require scientific experiments from quantum eraser, but certain things when it comes to what you guys expect us to believe. Yes, our standards are a bit higher. That's it. And you cannot use the going to China as analogous as going to space, because obviously the common person cannot go to space. That's why it's not analogous. That's why it's not equivalent. It's not difficult to understand, and that's why our position was being ignored.
And it is actually.
Why do you guys want to use science, right? You want to use the scientific method for your benefit, and then you don't want to use it when it's for our benefit. So
this is why I repeat that, and Brummy said that it's already been said. But this is exactly why I just said that. It's not that you can't use it sometimes, and or you can't use it all the time, and it's not an all the time kind of thing. There's certain things where using the scientific or using science is the way to actually know something. Whereas there's other ways where you can just gather evidence, or you can, like I said, observe something. For instance, several people, everyone's observing something happening. There's ways to find things out without science, but science is a very rigorous way to really validate the thing that.
What are you saying,
Stacy? Kind of like Stacy, you can't prove there's a container, but you have air pressure, and all that alone proves that there's a container.
No,
but,
what it does is
same thing he was just saying.
Hold on. Yeah, but all right, you can't prove gravity. We can't prove the container, but that is equal. It's an equal and opposite. So
we have to prove gravity.
You can't.
No one's trying to prove gravity, but we have thousands of evidences for it. There's no evidence, not even a single one, for dome. So that's not the equivalent. And they get away with it.
Air pressure is the evidence.
I'm making it very clear. I never said there's a dome.
That's an argument.
Never said that. There's a barrier. There is something that is holding gas pressure in. You cannot be next to a vacuum chamber or space.
Exactly.
With gas pressure. By the way, it's a consistent gas pressure. It doesn't hardly move. 14.7. So how you have a consistent PSI and all that, right? Next to a vacuum chamber or space.
Where's this happening at?
But Stacy, that's not the observation that we have. That's not the model.
On the globe Earth is where it happens at.
Where? Right. What place? Where's the place this happens? Where there's this high pressure, like the 14.7 psi that we have down here, and the vacuum, but these things next to each other.
That's what you're supposed to answer. Where is that line?
What waste any time? It doesn't happen anywhere. That's not what happens ever in any place whatsoever.
You just proved it. It doesn't happen anywhere.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, but you're saying that's what's supposed to be happening on Earth. That's not what's happening on Earth. We have 14.7 psi here, and already in Colorado, it's already 10. So you can have these gas pressures next to each other.
How do you have gas pressure?
And it slowly decreases to zero. Or to
and
close
gas
to zero.
is just moving all directions, and that's okay because gravity has, very choosing.
Can I say?
They told me yesterday, Stacey. They told me yesterday, gravity's equal and opposite is the fact that it pulls things. So as it's pulling things, the things that it's pulling are also pulling like that, and that's the equal and opposite force. Like literally,
before you say stupid shit, if you want a tutorial on how that works, we can go on a side chat. I can show you that.
No,
Make her answer the question.
Can I?
Gravity's a lie. Gravity is a lie.
Let's get back to the question because people are claiming that there's this gas pressure next to the vacuum, this high pressure next to the vacuum, and I've asked where does this occur?
Can I say
specific
something?
location?
No.
Yeah, it's a straw man. It's a straw man.
We know.
How is it a straw man? We have gas pressure. You can't ever show me gas pressure without a container. So therefore, how is it anything of what volume?
And Brenda.
It misrepresents the situation at hand. It's a misrepresentation.
It's a misrepresentation. You can't. Basically, we can't do it. We can't show you gas pressure without a container because it's contradicts reality.
Can I say something?
I could comment your position.
Can I say something? Can I say something?
Well, we were asking flat earther.
The pressure at sea level.
We were asking a flat earther.
Can I say?
Stacy is answering the question.
Okay.
At some point, I'm going to answer this fucking question.
Let's play a game. We know that the Globers know the answer. So
Can I say something
to
Stacy? Can I ask something to Stacy?
Mute him.
I already have.
Okay.
When she
I'll shut
answers
up.
this fucking question, you can ask a different one. How's that?
Okay.
But in 19 different directions.
I kept my mouth shut for the last half hour, so
Shut your fucking mouth.
Right. So
I think you'd answer his question, man.
No, I'm not asking him. No, I'm not asking him. He didn't become a flat earther. I was asking Stacy, but it really, any of you guys, I mean, when you said there's gas pressure next to this vacuum, and it can't happen like this, it's 14 psi down here, it's 0 up there, and it should be sucked out for some reason. Where is this?
No, not just necessarily sucked out, but it's going to be releasing into that other spot.
Sure.
Correct?
We'll use those words instead of the one I use. Regardless, where is this happening? Where you have these two? Do you have this interface between this?
Oh God, Coach, let the other person ask the question because this is just stupid. You cannot demonstrate it. Just concede it. Concede. You can't demonstrate gas pressure.
Stacy, where is this interface?
That's what I'm asking you because when you send a rocket out, when you send a rocket out into space, tell me how much of the gas pressure leaves the Earth, please. How much?
Like 3 kilograms a second, or something like that.
3 grams a second. Okay, can you tell me how much that would affect the Earth?
Very, very little. It will take billions of years for that to deplete.
Okay, billions of years, and we're spinning 66,000 miles around the sun, correct? And you don't have a trail of that gas at all?
I don't know why you would have that.
There is a trail of gas.
Oh, no, you just wouldn't have it, right? You wouldn't have all this stuff.
3 grams it's leaving would leave a trail, sure.
But how do you have pressure, consistent pressure, right? That's going out into this other container, whatever you want to call it, a container, whatever is out there, right? That's infinite, right?
It's
expanding.
Consistent pressure.
So how is it constantly leaving and it doesn't affect her? Can you prove that that's happening?
Yeah, there's tests that can do that. But before we go to 1,000 different subjects, let's simply talk about the pressure because it's not.
We asked you for a demonstration. You can't do it. You can see that you can't demonstrate it.
It's not uniform around. It's hard to say stuff, dude.
Kosho, what are you getting?
Fucking hell. Right, you said consistent. It's not consistent around the planet. It immediately gradients all the way up to like I said, 10 psi at Mount Everest or at Colorado, 4 psi at Mount Everest, and it goes to 0. So it's doing exactly what you'd expect it to do up there. Some of it is leaving because there's less space for it to crash into other molecules, and it's going fast enough that it can leave. But it's obviously being held down by something, and it's obviously not a container or anything like it.
Go. Who says who? How do you have this gas pressure then contained?
Because of the gradient implies acceleration. That's it. There's nothing else that can do that except for acceleration.
So there's no containment whatsoever. You're saying no barrier, no nothing, Coach.
Exactly.
Yeah, the only way you can have a gradient like this is with acceleration. If you have acceleration, you're going to get weight. The weight of the atmosphere is doing everything else than Earth does. It's acting downwards. So it's not weird or bizarre at all.
Everything's acting downwards. You're saying that? Did you just say that?
All the direction that the weight is going is all downwards. If anything on Earth, including the mass of the air, have weight, that direction is downwards. Yes.
Okay, so why do gases move in all directions, Kosho?
They move in all directions. They have the ability to move in all directions, just like everything else does. But it has a bigger vector downwards. Like if you push all the vectors,
so a rock has the ability to fly up.
If you throw it up, sure. What are you talking about?
Can't use potential energy or something that I've picked up and thrown. I'm talking about what happens on Earth. Does a rock fly up?
Yeah, so let's say you have a bouncy ball. A bouncy ball is better. If you have a bouncy ball and you're bouncing it in
I'm bouncing something, Kosho. I'm asking about a rock. You said everything can also move up. Does a rock move up?
Well, the thing is, molecules will bounce. So the molecule that's going downwards is going to bounce off whatever it's at.
Use your imagination, Stacey. We're talking about molecules.
It's not about using your imagination. This is what physical objects do.
Right. She asked you a question.
Hold on. My gas sitting in my room, moving up, Kosho.
Yeah, it's not a gas molecule. The reason why it's a gas molecule is because it has a lot of energy.
But you said everything goes down. Everything is affected by when it goes down.
Yes, this is true.
A vacuum cleaner sucks dirt because it is applying a force of the suction of the engine.
Oh, well done, genius.
Good.
Listen, she asked you a question. Hold on. She asked you a question. She asked you a question, right? And you answered it. Can you demonstrate gas pressure container? Yes or no? Yes or no?
We'll see if I answer it when you're not speaking. All right. A rock is a very strange and weird equivalent to a gas molecule. So we're going to use a bouncy ball. And if you don't like that,
we're not, because you said every single thing on Earth is affected by gravity and goes down. So we're not going to use what you want to use, a bouncy ball. We're going to use a rock.
Okay, use a rock that fucking bounces. What happens is the rock is going to the rock. If you throw it up in the air, or if it collides with something, let's say you shoot a cannon of rocks. And they're being projected somewhere. Yeah, but what's going to happen is they're all going to be accelerated downwards as well as the direction that they're going. And if one of those rocks hits a wall and it ricochets and bounces somewhere else, that's upwards or sideways and go any direction. But even still, it's going to have a force and acceleration downwards.
I'm not touching gases. Gases move in all directions without me applying anything to them. We're talking about finding its equilibrium. So the rocks in the ground, its equilibrium, Kosho. We're not touching it. Why is it not flying in the air? You said everything's affected by gravity. going down. Gas is moving all directions. Please explain why. Then a rock does not fly up.
Gases are doing that exact thing for that exact same reason. They're just colliding with each other. They're ricocheting off of, they're bouncing off each other, but they're also acting downward.
Why do they?
Why do things move?
Why is not gravity affecting gases in the same manner as a rock? You said everything. No, it's not.
Yeah,
it pretty much is. That's the good model. It pretty much is. It might be maybe.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He's not able to answer that question because he hasn't got the.
Torricelli proved this to Galileo. Torricelli proved this to Galileo. Galileo said the same thing. How can you show it has weight?
I really want you to be intellectually honest on this server like you are with me. Normally,
Stacy, he made the mercury barometer, which showed definitively that the atmosphere, the atmosphere has weight. All that air has weight. That means it's acting downwards. It pushes the mercury down, which pushes it up the tube. So the atmosphere indeed has weight, and indeed that weight is directed downwards.
I'm going to say, yeah, the container is what's pushing on the air.
Also, the pressure at sea level is 101 kilopascals. The highest balloon went up to 135,000 feet, which is 40 kilometers, and the pressure up there is 0.3 kilopascals, which is 100 times less. There's no barrier between them, and yet it's 100 times less pressure than at sea level. No barrier needed. So there is not a barrier needed unless there is gravity, and then you have a pressure gradient, because the further away you get from the surface of the Earth, the less gravity affects you.
The less weight, the less the atmosphere above you.
Okay, so I'm holding a helium balloon right in my hand right now, right? Why is it going up?
Well, yeah, it's going to go up, but it's going to stop somewhere. It's the same as a basketball. If you have a basketball in the pool,
but shouldn't gravity be pushing it down? You said everything's affected by gravity. So when I'm holding the balloon, why is it not going down?
Because it is buoyant.
I almost got there.
Molecules.
I almost got there, but I wasn't allowed to finish. It really only takes less than 20 seconds. Okay, the basketball at the bottom of the pool.
Oh God!
The basketball at the bottom of the pool is going to do the same thing as a balloon in the bottom of the atmosphere. And when it gets to the top of the pool, it's going to act downwards and rest on the top of the pool. The same way a balloon is going to go up to 20,000 feet, and it's going to rest on top of the air up there, or it's going to expand and explode. But if you have a balloon like Felix Baumgartner, it's going to go up to that height, and it's going to sit there and float. And the fact that it's floating means that it's acting downwards. It's floating on top of that other medium. It's just been displaced and acted upwards.
Mediums? Or the mediums could show, right? We're talking about mediums and how things react in those mediums. So therefore, you're still not proving shit that I'm asking. Because in reality, you could take a basketball, like you said, put it in water, it's going to react a certain way. That's water. You put something in air, it's going to act a certain way. That's air. If I put it in oil, it's going to act a certain way. That's oil. How is that proving gravity? How is that proving anything you're saying? You say gases are affected and everything on Earth goes down.
Yes,
please explain why gases move.
Kosher, you're not letting her finish. Come on, let her finish.
In all directions.
Yeah, but Kosher, you're not letting her finish though. You're monologuing for. Yeah, but Kosher, you're monologuing for a long while now. You're not letting her finish her points though.
You're not helping anything.
Yeah, but you're not letting her finish though, Kosher. That's the point.
You're not answering her question either.
Stop fucking talking, dude.
They're talking all over him, Chemo. Don't come in here like this out of the fucking blue.
Yeah, I've been listening for a while for the last hour, Kev. I've been recording for the last hour and 10 minutes, so I've been listening.
Shut your fucking mouth.
No, you be quiet, Curb, and let Stacy finish her point. We don't need you, Curve, to join in and make the situation any worse. We need to let Stacy finish her point.
Stay out of it.
Stacy, I know what your question is because I know I answered it. You missed that part of it. Don't say anything, Brumming. You missed it too. I said specifically and explicitly that not only does it go up to those points. That wasn't the point of what I said. Not that they rise. The point is once they get there. Once the basketball gets to the top of the pool, once the balloon gets to its float point, they float. And the fact that they're floating means that they're acting downwards on top of that medium. So they get there and they're floating on top of it. Otherwise, if they had some principle that meant that they were just going to, not act downwards, then they would keep floating forever. It would never stop. But it stops at its float point because it's still acting downwards.
Yeah, you don't understand what she's asking. You haven't answered her question. How you get gas pressure back?
He's just pretending not to understand anyway.
That's not what she just asked. She just asked, "How's it acting downward?"
At the start of the conversation, she asked.
Yeah, no one's talking about that, bro.
Let me finish my piece. Let me say my piece. Let me say my piece. At the start of the conversation, she asked you a question which you didn't answer. Now you're telling her about. Now she's asking you a question about why does if gravity pulls everything down. Now you've explained why buoyancy works. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't work on the gas molecules. Gravity has no effect on gas.
She does. She just asked that. I just
answered her.
Earlier, she asked
about
the
gas
pressure without the container, and I said explicitly that doesn't happen. And I proved that by asking them, which they didn't have an answer for because it doesn't happen. There isn't a high gas pressure next to a medium anywhere.
The intermolecular bonds like gas molecules. The intermolecular bonds. No, keep talking. Keep talking till I can't respond.
Well, then don't tell me that these didn't get answered when they got answered.
You're not answering right. You don't know what you're talking about. The intermolecular bonds are not affected by gravity. Gases and steams can go straight up, no problem. No problem at all. They just go up.
What is the formula? What is the formula for buoyancy?
It has gravity in it, but the problem is, right? You guys are saying it's a bending the warp of space-time, putting things down, when it's not.
Yeah, you missed the whole fucking point, dude. It's like that's what pisses people off is whenever this has to be explained like simply again and again. But basketball's at the bottom of a pool. Is it gonna fucking go off to infinity? Or is it gonna find a fucking float point? No, Brummy, stop talking, dude. Stop talking because in 2 minutes you're gonna say that somebody can answer this again. When when the ball is at the bottom of the pool, it rises up to the top of the pool and then it sits.
She asked you about gas.
Downwards. Yes, gases do the same thing. Brummy,
no, they don't.
Brummy,
gases are not contained in a basketball. I just gave you an example of
how that does the exact same thing. A helium balloon, like the one Felix Baumgartner was in, at the ground is going to go upwards. And then it's going to find, just like the basketball, its float point. For fuck's sake. Stop saying that wasn't answered when that was explicitly answered.
Yeah, he's comparing a basketball to the atmosphere. Or
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because it does the fucking same thing, dude. For fuck's sake.
So you wrong?
It's the exact same principle.
What's the line where the basketball surface is at, so we know where
the pool where the water
is at?
Yeah, at the top of the pool where the water is, it becomes more dense in the air.
The universe.
It can't rise up. Yeah, and so in the atmosphere, the helium balloon gets up to 127,000 feet because above there, it's not the least dense anymore when in its balloon or whatever it's in. Felix Baumgartner, when he climbed up, that's how high he got. That's how high people get in balloons.
Yeah. Gases don't affect.
That's how high people get sitting at their desk.
I think you need to learn that gravity has no effect on gas at all.
Actually, helium balloons go up to about 30,000 feet.
Yeah. So the gases are unaffected by gravity.
Yes, because otherwise they go up into outer space.
There is no gravity. To lie.
Oh my God!
Now balloons go into outer space.
Jeez.
But air doesn't. But balloons do.
Denial.
No, balloons do not go up into outer space.
Yeah, nobody claims they do.
Yeah, they're literally. That's literally what it's called. It's called the float point because every balloon, no matter what they put in it, is going to have a different, based on its size and how much it can expand, all this different stuff, it's going to have a float point. And to do tests like the one Felix Baumgartner did, they actually had to calculate what that would be. So they know these things, and it's all based on the fact that it's buoyant only up to a certain point. Once it gets to that point, it's floating on top of it. Floating literally implies that you're acting downward.
Experiment? Was it contained, Kosho, in the experiment? All right, the balloon's contained, right? What is causing? How are you going to measure any of this? You can't even measure gas pressure without a container. So therefore, what are you talking about?
Exactly. Have you ever heard of a gravitometer?
Have you heard of a barometer?
Yeah. Or a barometer, or a pressure gauge measuring water pressure.
Yeah,
any pressure
inside of a container.
Yeah, we have. It's contained. Use a fucking container, don't you, to measure the gas pressure with it?
No, you don't.
Pressure. Show me.
Show me a barometer. Is a barometer contained mercury in it or not? It's a container with mercury.
It works with gravity because the gravity presses down on the mercury.
The one watch doesn't have mercury.
Gravity is a myth. You've all been deceived.
Really?
See a picture of it.
Why is it a law?
Put it in text or picture form.
And to have air pressure, right? You need to know how. You need to weigh the air. To weigh the air.
You can weigh air. Yes, you can weigh air.
Yeah, you can when it's contained or frozen.
Oh my God!
Yeah, do you want
put air into a balloon? Put air into a balloon.
Into a container.
Guys,
put air into a container. Into a container.
Okay. Have you ever seen a pressure gradient in a container? No.
Yes, in a graduated cylinder. Poke a hole in the
cylinder.
Yeah, put water in the graduated cylinder, poke holes top to the bottom. It sprays out at 3 different strengths. That's a gradient right there.
But it's not closed.
That's a proof of gravity.
But exactly.
Right. When it.
But you need to have a gravity center, though. You have a fallacy of composition where at best you prove stuff goes down, but not that stuff is attracted to the center of mass.
It's not because of the container, right? It's because of the altitude. Right? That's what causes the gradient, not the container. The container is a non-factor in that. Right?
Francis' first experiments show that gravity is probably electromagnetic. He changed the attraction to overall repulsion by electrifying the mass.
Gas pressure in a container. Yes.
Can I say one more thing too? That I would say my view.
No. What?
It's just okay. I just want to say about the gravity thing. I understand that we have a phenomenon, and you can call it gravity, you can call it whatever you want. That's why it's in these methods. However, it's not been proven to what you guys are saying how it exists and works, and that is actually science that says it's theory.
Precisely what we see when we look at Jupiter.
Right?
When we look at Jupiter, it's precisely what we see. We see the atmosphere moving. We see it contained within the planet, wrapping around a spinning ball. It's precisely what you guys claim is like some weird absurdity. Is precisely what we see. What we don't see is a flat Earth with suns and moons circling around it.
How do you know Jupiter's a gas, Jake?
That's exactly what you're looking at.
Jupiter's contained with all those gases. Is that what's happening as well? Jupiter's contained because I say it might be raining diamonds, and the only way you're going to get diamonds is pressure. So therefore, it's what possibly contained, or how is that working as well on Jupiter?
How do you know it's a gas, Jake? Jupiter.
Because you can get there.
How do you know?
It is exactly like a gas.
The globe scientists said it was.
No,
you guys don't even know your globe and your space that you believe in. I'm doing 11-year-old. I'm doing this with an 11-year-old yesterday for her school.
No.
Jupiter might be raining diamonds. Therefore, it's pressurized. It said it was. They're talking about their core and everything. And you know what they say? It might be this, might be that. So how do you know and you believe in something that you don't even know?
Stacy, you can get a prism for $1. And you can use it to look at the sun at sunset or sometime whenever you want to look at it. You can see that the sun is itself made up of mostly hydrogen and helium, which indeed are gases. And if you had a more sophisticated one, you can look at Jupiter and see the exact same thing.
No.
And this gives you definitive proof, regardless of what this guy want to interrupt and say. There's no way to deny that. Those signatures are as distinct as barcodes.
Nope.
There's no way that you're going to get some
upon the addition of heat. We've never seen forces contain. At the best, we've seen the force of electromagnetism repel, but not contain. Gravity is looked at as this attractive force.
That's wrong.
Propulsion.
This is
Kosha, what's distinct as barcodes? The spectrometry?
Spectral.
Oh, is it? Is it now?
Spectrograms.
Okay. Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So the mixes are also...
exactly. When you have them mixed up and separate them and get distinct elements.
No. You know what's funny? When you have them mixed up, then you separate them. No. When they're mixed.
Have you ever done this before, or are you just talking
the same? Are they the same as barcodes?
Based off like assumptions on how this works. Instead of meeting with somebody online,
that's kind of what I think is going on here. Is people talking on assumptions of based on how it works. That's exactly.
You know what's funny?
Why I spoke.
You know what's funny? If you put a density tower in a weightless environment, like for example, if you pitch down in an aircraft and you begin to experience weightlessness, the entire density tower gets garbled.
Yeah, because you put a centrifugal force onto the medium.
No, it's weightless. If you have a force, that would tell you to
that does not happen in reality. You never see that happen in nature. So why do you use it?
If you put a force on it when the plane goes down, you put a force on the material and it changes. That's what happens.
Oh, listen. Here's what happens. You can measure it with your cell phone, or you can observe it with your eyes with a water bottle. And when water bottle is falling, it's going to be falling at the same rate. If you throw it downwards and it's accelerating, it's not going to be behaving that way. It's going to be behaving the way you're saying that it's accelerating, so something's happening. Same thing if you have it resting on a table and you have a density column resting on a table. It's going to go in different mediums because it's accelerating downward. Only if you drop something and it happens to be falling at the same rate as the Earth is accelerating, or is gravity accelerating downwards, is it going to not behave in this way where it combines together. So you can test this out, and the fact that it's only happening at that time tells you that it's canceling that acceleration.
No, Kosho, when they compare that to the centrifugal ones, right, it's that there's a resistance. You see what I'm saying? The one that you're pseudo-floating, right, it doesn't have resistance.
Yeah, I just told you, man. I just told you. It's not that it's floating. It's falling at the same rate. If you throw it down, so now it's going faster than the same rate, it's going to behave. It's going to start separating again.
Density is, by the way, not a force.
Yeah, but see, that's what I want to point out, Kosho, is I kind of think it's more crispy to understand that when it has resistance is when it starts separating again. I think.
No, what are you talking about? You can't take resistance away. What is that? That's just gibberish.
Okay, because when they, for instance, if we're talking about the density tower stuff, right? Or am I like way out of left field here?
It's in the realms of what we eventually start talking about.
Okay, so when they take the density tower and they like drop it and it's messy, but if they spin it like in a centrifuge or whatever, sideways to the horizontal, and
here's
it's separate, it has resistance.
Yeah, here's the secret. All it has to be the fact that it's falling means that the acceleration is equaling out. For it to do any of this thing, the thing you're calling resistance, we'll just call that acceleration. Because when it's accelerating, that's whenever you see it behave this way. If you had something like a centrifuge,
That's what you're saying wrong, Kosho. Because when it's pseudo floating, hold on. When it's pseudo floating, it's also still accelerating.
No, that's what I just said to you. Nothing is pseudo floating. Those things are falling, and because they're falling, it's the same force that would be acting upwards on the ground. Because it's going downwards, they're equaling out. If you throw something down so it's going faster than the rate at which things
slow down
downwards, and then it's going to be have that same accelerating effect.
Yeah, but that force is not real, so it's a pseudo falling, is what he's saying. If it's a pseudo force, fictitious force, it's not really falling, is it?
No, pseudo forces aren't real.
Pseudo forces are classified as forces. Fictitious forces are the same thing as pseudo forces. Those are forces.
Imaginary forces are the same as an actual force.
I didn't want to take over, but Kosho, you had a nice little kind of 3 or 4 point walkthrough, and I wasn't with you the whole way. Can you sell me again why we kind of have the disagreement or whatever it was, the little thing?
Because it was acting downwards. Like when you have a phone resting on the table, there's acceleration on it, and it's being met. Yeah, and it's being met, and so it's not. It's not
resistance, like I'm saying. There's resistance. It's being met. There's resistance. Hold on. Me and him walk through it one more time.
Again, Kosho.
When you drop your
just
phone,
me and Kosho one time. Okay,
you drop your phone. Though, it's accelerating downwards at the same rate at which same rate that it would be being pushed. Yeah, there would be a force acting upwards on it if it was resting.
Okay. So there's resistance. There's resistance. Okay. So we're agreeing there.
Resistance.
Okay, what I'm saying, Kosho, is the density tower settles when there's resistance. That's the simple axiom. And I think we'd agree. So
it's not resistance. Resistance is a word that is, in this case, is making things confusing. Just use acceleration. When it's
resistance is what you have. You have resistance yourself, Kosho.
I don't want to use acceleration because even when we are in the vomit comet and we mix them up, and then there's the parabola or whatever, the vomit comet's drop, it's doing the floating thing or whatever. You can argue the word or you can acknowledge it. And anyway, it doesn't settle right there because there's it's still accelerating. It's still, even though you think it's accelerating towards the ground, okay? But there's no resistance, so it's not settling. Hello?
I think you broke Kosho.
Look, I pressed the wrong button. If that acceleration is equal to Earth's gravitational acceleration. If it were higher than Earth's gravitational acceleration, you would indeed feel acceleration. If it was less or more, a lot of times it's less, but sometimes it could be more. You could be going down faster than the rate of fall. In that case, it would also separate.
But density is not a substitute for gravity, and it's easily proven.
Well,
or relative density.
Not really a force. It's not a thing, is it?
Yes, it is, depending on which view you look at it. From which point of perspective you look at it.
Gravity? How does it
say again?
How does it pull objects? What's the mechanism?
Well, the difference is between do you look at gravity as a theory or as a law? Because a theory is how or why something works. A law is the observed phenomenon.
Yeah, there's a force pulling an object, yeah? Is what you're saying. Pull objects towards the center of the mass.
Masses attract each other, yes.
Yeah, so is that a pull or a push?
Both.
Where are the pressure points?
There is no pressure points. That's space-time continuum. Space tells matter how to, or like something that Neil deGrasse Tyson said. I don't know. I don't remember how he said
John
it. But,
Wheeler. Oh my goodness! Here we go.
But density is not. If Flat Earth wants to come up with something else, they can't say density, and that's what we're arguing.
No,
they can't. Density is not a. What?
If density causes something, how can you deny it?
Because density is not a vector; it's a scalar.
Yeah, but again, if it's causing the pressure on the object and causing it to move, why are you denying that?
Because if you take two objects of the same density, one will be, if you take a different mass, one will be heavier than the other. They will not be in balance. One will be more accelerating more towards the ground. For example, you take a scale, you place 2 liters of water on the left side, 1 liters of water on the right side, and you've heard this before, I'm sure of that, right? The same material, same atmosphere, same density, because it's both water, and we all know the density of water, but they have different mass and different volume, right? As an object increases in mass, gravity will have a stronger force on it. It's not density.
But again,
because it's the same density.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but we're looking for the cause of an object moving.
We don't know what causes gravity. That's why it is called a theory. We have theories that try to explain gravity, like special relativity, which has been proven by the Havlik-Keating experiment, which took 4 cesium clocks into the atmosphere in planes, flew them in opposite directions, and the clocks had changed in time. So special relativity, or general relativity rather, has been proven in that way.
Why then in that case, rate of acceleration can be controlled with density, relative density, and objects falling can be controlled with density.
That's not true, though. I know that guy just said it was true, but
absolutely true.
If you
take 2 objects,
they'll fall at different rates.
Exactly. If the objects are in the same, if you take 2 orbs, for example, 2 bowling balls of different weight, different densities, and you drop them, they encounter the same atmospheric resistance or wind resistance.
That's you're saying it backwards.
Hold on, Coach. I just wanted to address my point. I just wanted to address this point about controlling the acceleration with density.
How?
So if we change the medium that the object is accelerating, control how fast the object falls.
Isn't the point of an experiment to eliminate as many variables as possible?
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly.
The medium is the variable.
Yeah, but no, you take away the air. Take away the air. It's still going to accelerate down.
Yeah,
Why?
but there's another reason why. Because one is your misconception about relative density giving it the directionality, and two, because there is still another thing that factors in, which I don't fancy sharing with the group right now. But yeah, just the absence of something. It's like saying, why does a ball drop when I take away the table? The thing that's holding it up, you take away, makes it fall down. It's just common sense. You've picked it up. Its mass is always going to go down, and less of mass is always going to go up. Now, when I say mass, it doesn't mean
the
the
mass
in a space time.
Yeah, mass equals, mass is measured in weight. So the weight will be, the ball will be temporarily weightless. It drops, falls back onto something, and then becomes, not weightless anymore.
Well, the question you're going to ask yourself, this is the question you're going to ask yourself. If there is a force acted upon these items when you drop them, right, then why did they only reach terminal velocity? Why don't they go faster? If there's a continuous force being acted upon them.
It's because that's what I was just saying a second ago, is the force of drag. If you look at how it increases,
no.
Brummy, you have to stop talking, buddy. You have to stop talking. This is the answer to your question, and you're not going to get it if you don't stop talking.
Stop moaning.
Yeah, you stop moaning, dude.
All right.
The way an object, it'll fall through the atmosphere. It'll increase its speed. As it's increasing its speed, the force that is acting against it, the drag, increases. And so they eventually reach a point where those values will become equal, and that's when it reaches terminal velocity.
Wrong.
Yep. Why is he wrong?
There is there is no terminal velocity in space, by the way.
Yeah. Like I said, terminal velocity.
It's only drag.
Oh, for fuck's sake! It's not. So you're saying that stuff that drop in a vacuum chamber, it'll only reach its maximum speed, which is the acceleration it'll go to, but it won't go any faster than that. But you're saying the force is acting upon it. That force is still continuing, and it should continue to accelerate even more, but it doesn't.
Vacuum it's not accelerating, which is what's just been said, Rummy.
It's not accelerating, though, is it?
In a vacuum, it will keep accelerating.
Yes.
No, it won't, because it would go
faster. It will keep accelerating.
No, it won't. No, it won't.
That's fine. Where's your evidence to demonstrate that?
You're not even understanding my question.
In a vacuum,
there's a maximum speed that things drop at, right? So you can take it to another
velocity, which is a
you can get a ton of bricks, drop them 2 miles up in the air, right? It won't gain any more speed. It will stay at that constant
because of the drag of the air.
Yeah,
it's
a resistance.
Terminal velocity.
No.
Think about what you're saying. So if there's no resistance, what would slow down the object if it's gaining speed?
Nothing.
Yeah, it's the same. If something was falling towards something and it never, for some reason, reached it, and some hypothetical bullshit
That's why, Brummy, we say we control.
If it's falling towards it, there's no resistance, then it's going to be accelerating the whole time.
Yeah, and that's why we say we can control.
Unless another force acts upon it.
We can control the speed, the acceleration by changing the medium. That's the point. Is that variable,
which is fully predicted by gravity.
Gravity is not a force, so you can't control
specific
that
density, specific gravity of a liquid or a medium will determine the rate. So we can look at that. So it's the medium itself, the gravity, the density of that, density object, and any buoyancy forces that we have.
What is gravity?
So we just need to, as soon as we get into things like that, obviously in air, most of the stuff we don't have to worry about the buoyant force. Once we start getting under things like water, then we consider the buoyant force a lot more, don't we? That was to Brummy.
So the idea is wait.
Sorry, wait, listen to what you say.
He was just waffling.
That's what I've heard, just where I thought. The fact is, they don't even understand my question. They're trying to answer me.
That's so fucking insulting, it's unfair.
Oh, God, get over it.
I don't understand why you say shit like that.
Brummy, what you said...
You didn't listen, and you called it waffling when you didn't fucking listen to it. I expect that from Chemo because he's an arsehole. I expect better from you.
Okay.
All right.
Waffling is just like rambling. I get called like transgender, a man, a badass words that you have no idea. It's like, you have to let it shrug it off.
How did I know? All I heard was that was to Brummy. I didn't even know you were talking to me because you were just talking at me, not to me. There's a difference. And the fact is, I asked a question. I said certain things. The people are responding to stuff that I didn't even say. You don't understand what I'm saying, and yet you think you can answer it. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Let's stop having a meta conversation. I've said the answer to your question. Things would increase increase speeds if they had no resistance. When they do have resistance, it increases speed. It reaches a terminal velocity based on what medium it's in and what the surface area is.
And to add to that, Kosho, To add to that, social, based on the mass, the density, the projected area, and the drag coefficient.
Yes. Thank you. It's a little bit more confusing when we're saying it at the same time. But when something's traveling at a certain speed, it's going to increase that speed. As it increases that speed at the same time, on the other side of that equation, the drag is increasing, the force acting against it. So you can see that at the exact same time, something will increase the speed at one time and then decrease or be met with the force acting the opposite direction at the same time as that happens. So you can tell that there's a point in which those numbers become equal as that increases and that decreases.
It's like throwing a punch in air and throwing a punch in water, isn't it? I can still feel the air when I throw a punch, but my punch in water is slower because there's more resistance from the medium. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't see why everyone's.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, actually, guys. This stuff can be explained to a kindergarten. I usually speak to children. I'm not talking about just flat Earth. I'm talking about angular resolution. The things that are not taught and they don't understand. A 37-year-old should understand angular resolution. We don't. Okay, but we can get really simple with this globe. It's a sphere with a radius. The radius was what Al-Biruni in the beginning, right? Which means it's so ridiculous. But at the same time, let's not forget that radius is about the same that they say now. On top of what? It's immensely accurate. So that radius that you guys are talking about, that curvature needs to exist. It's not there.
It is, though.
Aristotelies said that
measured it
like 1,500 years before Al-Biruni, and their numbers are consistent.
Saying it's there does not make it true.
Yes.
Where's the geometric horizon that was based upon in the beginning?
Hold on.
Where's the geometric horizon, Hosho?
Hold on. So those two guys did it. We have the same consistent values that they get today, more accurate. That there's a certain confidence that comes with that reality.
Okay,
that somebody did 4,500 years ago. Al-Biruni did it a completely different way. Got just about the same number, approached it more closely.
You're all getting the same number from apparent locations.
But Coach, didn't they presuppose the ball?
Yeah, they had to presuppose a sphere to make the math work.
Respond to the point that I just made. Stop bringing up other shit. This is a conversation.
How did they find the geometric horizon that they did the measurements on?
Did you hear what my point was?
No, I want that answer, please, Coach.
These methods that they did, regardless if they somebody pulled a hair out
I
of his
want the answer, Coach. Please quit going away from it and tell me the answer, please.
I asked the question first, Stacy. That's what I'm talking about the horizons. I'm talking about the radius. I'm not talking about one single method. I'm talking about the fact that all these different methods, including before he did that, and also when he did that, despite if you think that it's valid or not, and people who do it today, they get the same number and approach it more closely.
Right.
So that's happening.
And they presume a ball.
Why would you be in doubt of any of those methods having been?
Can I explain why?
Because they presume a ball.
Right, but also I'll explain even more. You have these mass, right, that are supposed to work for the sphere, and this geometric horizon that we're supposed to find and see that's based on that, right? Where is the edge of your geometric horizon? Where's the edge of your ball? Where's the geometric horizon that this was supposedly based on?
It's called the horizon.
Yeah, if you're 1 foot off the ground, where is the geometric horizon? You're 1 foot off the ground.
That's the edge.
What's the formula?
The apparent.
Steve, if you want to be taken seriously, why don't you take the difference between the observed and the geometric horizon, and then tell me what the error would be in calculating the radius from that, if you really want to be accurate.
Stacy, he's not even a rocket scientist.
I can't see the geometric horizon. Please show me where it's at.
All you do is interject your stupidity. You don't add anything to the conversation except heckle from the side.
I'm just letting Stacy know
right now.
Well,
exactly.
So, Stacy, why don't you go calculate the error then if you want to make that claim? And by the way, you can do Aristophanes, which does not even use the horizon.
Don't worry, Stacy.
Yeah, what's it based on?
They're struggling to answer your questions. The atoms come out now.
No, Rakia, you don't need the distance of the sun to do Aristophanes. I've done the experiment, okay?
You told me you were a rocket scientist, sir.
Wait, ask him that
DM. You don't need the distance to the sun to do Aristophanes. You do need 3 points at a minumum.
Okay.
Come on, let others speak now, Coach. We've been going on for a while.
Stop with this bullshit.
So the rocket scientist does orbital mechanics, right?
The rocket scientist,
60-second flat Earth huddle, and then attack.
So we've got an expert rocket scientist. You should understand how to find curvature, right, rocket scientist?
Yeah, just look at the Himawari 8 live feed. I can post it for you.
I want a serious question. If you
Nobody
don't
wants
need
pretend
distance,
pictures.
I'm actually trying to learn. If you don't need distance, then what? How are you getting these apparent locations because you don't know where they're at, and measuring the radius of the Earth?
The only assumption Eratosthenes made were parallel lines from the sun.
Stacy, I'm trying to show you a picture.
But you don't need to know where they're at. You said you don't need to know the distance. You don't need to know anything about them. But we're going to base our entire globe on.
Stacy, I'm trying to post you a picture. Okay, this is based on the longest. The longest image, Brenda. You'll get to see it too, Brenda. It's the longest image, the picture, whatever the fuck, from from Mount Conagu, whatever the fuck it's called, and you'll see that the proportions are exactly what you would expect them to be. So somebody like Al Bruni, who's at the top of a mountain, he's getting he probably was witnessing standard refraction for all we know. He did it multiple times in different refractive instances, and the number that he probably averaged out of the calculations he did approached the number that is consistent with the other methods as well. So by doing this method, it doesn't change the horizon by much or by enough to give you like a wildly incorrect measurement. If you want to be precise, then this is not really the best method. But if you are just trying to ballpark what the radius is, it's a pretty good method to do.
And what if you want it to be flat Earth? Then what is it?
You would have to do a definitive test. So it's really difficult with everybody talking over everybody.
Yes.
Well,
No,
huddle.
It's
surveying.
y'all's huddle, globe huddle turn. Oh no, that was the globe huddle. All right, flat Earth huddle.
You're
really difficult when
surveying
Stacey asks
stuff,
questions.
guys.
Hold on, Stacey. Stacey, you ask questions. They don't answer the questions. They talk about stuff that's not analogous. Completely go around the subject.
You didn't understand it.
Kosho did just answer that question.
I think what she wants to know is where the geometric horizon is. That's what she's asking.
Yeah, she said, how can you get the answer when the geometric and the apparent are different? And he made the answer. He said the apparent is not that different from the geometric. So if you take a bunch of measurements, you're going to get close to the right answer.
But that's not how you would establish your curvature. You first have to establish your horizontal.
Actually, it is.
That's what you would do.
So that's
to look for the deviation.
If the apparent and the geometric are very close to each other, then it's not that big a deal.
But who's
They're not next to each other.
We didn't answer the question. The geometric horizon,
they're quite close.
The actual physical horizon, where is it?
Yeah.
Well,
it's wherever it is.
Wait. I'm trying to learn. You guys want to help? I told you I would change my mind if you actually give me information.
Yeah, you've got a rocket scientist.
It's not possible because people are just talking over each other all the time.
All right, rocket scientist, if you want to help Stacey.
You need to pick somebody to ask a question of, and then only they will respond.
Yeah, rocket scientist was actually speaking to Stacey, but got derailed a little bit.
Okay. Well, whoever Stacey wants to ask, she should ask.
Yeah. That there's that the geometric and apparent horizon, there is a relationship between those two. Yes, we only see the apparent because that's just what it is. But Al Bruni made the measurements as Kosha described. He did varying measurements, and yes, there's going to be an error bar into what that radius measurement is going to be. But for what he was doing, that was sufficient. But there are other ways that we can do these measurements that don't need an observation of the horizon.
I'm saying, is it possible? May I ask one simple falsifying question?
Shut up, Don, for a second.
I haven't said anything in 5 minutes. Man, listen, I said huddle. That's all I said. Is it possible doing the measurements he measured that he could have got a null result, therefore zero radius flat Earth?
Here's the thought.
This is a serious question. This is a serious question.
Seriously,
it's not.
Thank you.
I looked at his result and it's not, okay? But Don, why don't you do something like this? Because this is totally within the realm of anybody with a telescope.
Okay, what the fuck?
Mr. Scott, come on.
Can I say something really quickly? And it's about my confusion then. The whole confusion for me is you get your whole radius based on a geometric horizon is never visible. So then he just based the mass on a sphere in his mind and he presupposed it because he never saw it. He saw an apparent location. But now even the survey is done.
He said he didn't presuppose it. He could have got a zero.
Okay, that's fine. But let me finish. If I was to do the surveying now that they use right now, it's also presupposed on a spherical ball and the dimensions that were already done. Right?
No, that's not.
You can look that up and Google that if you don't believe me.
It's Stacey.
Stacey, you're right. You're right, Stacey.
Excuse me.
She's right.
Excuse me. I was talking.
I'm right. You can look it up. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Brenda.
Let Brenda answer the thing. This is getting ridiculous, guys. Come on.
So what Nathan does is he tries to separate the apparent and geometric horizons. But without a geometric horizon, you can't have an apparent horizon. The apparent horizon is a function of the geometric horizon.
How can you figure out a distance if you're only seeing an apparent location? You've never seen a geometric. That's my point.
Because they're related to each other. You can't have one without the other. So if you have an apparent horizon, you have a geometric horizon. You have it because you have an apparent horizon.
Stacey's asking. Yeah, she's saying because we don't see it. Not that we don't have one. She's saying because we can't see it. How are we measuring the radius when we don't actually see the distance to the actual horizon? And the answer to that is actually that's only one method. That method is not based on its distance. It's based on its.
But I brought up surveying, Coach. So let's get to the point.
Only one, Stacey. That's only one.
The point is you can see it, but you can't see it.
Stop, dude. All the other methods to find the horizon, to find the radius, do not even include distances to the horizon in any way. There's many other methods to find the radius of the Earth, and they don't include the refracted or geometric horizon.
Can I correct you for a second? Because if it's based on the dimensions, prior dimensions, then where do they base in those dimensions on?
Exactly.
Ones that have already been ones that have already been done on a geometric horizon that they've seen supposedly. So therefore, all this stuff is based on presupposed dimensions.
I told you that because it's true.
Right.
The reason I just said that to you.
That's even surveying now.
Stop.
Surveying right now is based on presupposed position. I'll post a link.
Stacey,
you can Google it.
The reason I just told you that, Al Bruni, who did that 1,000 years ago, and I said all the other methods do not need the horizon, is because that's the truth. So when someone did it 2,500 years ago before him and did not need distance to the horizon, the refracted horizon.
Then how did they get the dimensions, Coach O?
If you don't know Aristotle's method,
presupposing.
explain to you, but it doesn't have to do with the horizon. It has to do with the shadow that the sun makes. It has to do with the shadow that the sun makes at noon in two different locations.
So basically, Stacey, what they're saying here is that it's apparent, but it's there, but it's not. It's there, but it ain't there. But it has to be there because it can't be there.
That's the issue right now with you.
That's what they're saying.
It's there, but you can't see it. You can't measure it, but, you know.
It's like
none of you guys
so aggravating. I know you can't see it, but you don't believe it.
Hypothesis is correct. So not even.
You can't believe
it. Coach, let me ask you a question.
Literally.
How would you falsify your model then?
By doing other methods that don't include the same thing. For instance, you can use something like you fly around the Earth in 2020. So I'm going to fly around the fucking Earth. I'm going to get a circumference. I'm going to base the radius off that. Oh, wow. This guy that he did 2,500 years ago and the guy that did 1,000 years ago, they were both right. This is how you would verify something like that. And it's done.
Can we see how it was falsified? It was tried to be falsified. Who attempted to falsify your model? Yeah?
But Coach, I don't think you're understanding. We're going back in history. We're going back to the very beginning. Okay, they presupposed a ball based on the geometric horizon. Correct? Okay, say the incorrect. It doesn't matter.
Wrong. I just told you the answer to that question is no. That assumption is wrong. That's what I've just said. Yeah,
Aristotle's what did they base it on, Coach Show, back in the day? Then
Aristotle's method included shadows that were from lights that were directly above him. It didn't have to do with the horizon whatsoever.
Right. So Al Bruni already knew that the Earth was round. He already knew that, so he didn't have to presuppose it.
That's presupposed.
How did he know it?
He knew it because of all the other things. Aristosthenes, among others, already determined that the Earth is a sphere.
How was it determined on six and shadows in apparent locations?
Without airplanes.
Yes, by trigonometry. That's how.
By math and other shit that doesn't apply, but you are presupposing a ball without even seeing a geometric horizon using six and shadows and apparent locations. Then you have what? A geometric horizon you base it on that you never see as well. And then we have surveying now that's based on a presupposed dimension that was set back in the day based on a sphere that people have made up with math.
That's false. That's false. That's all false. So Aristosthenes, it doesn't, it proves that the Earth is a sphere. It's a proof.
How is it?
With trigonometry, it proves that the Earth must be a sphere.
It was a guess.
That's no proof.
Yes, it is proof.
It wasn't a guess at that time. No, the answer is
It's proof.
How did they come to the conclusion again?
Coach, stop muting me.
No, I'm going to mute you. Whoever else mutes you is because you're doing what you're doing now.
You don't shut up. You never shut up. You keep monologuing for ages. You don't make a point. You don't address people's questions.
Come on, Coach. Everyone should be able to have their say, right? Not just a one-on-one.
No,
if you want a one-on-one, then take it down to the other room.
Kosho, stop muting me. Stop abusing.
Not a one-on-one, Kosho.
No.
He's allowed to say his piece.
If people are talking about something and someone comes in shouting chemo, they get muted.
He's not
That's
shouting.
how it works, man.
He's asking you a question about back off Stacy. Backing up Stacy.
You don't like it. Every time I back up Stacy, he doesn't like it.
He's backing up Stacy.
But here's where's the problem.
But you're backing up Kosho now. He's backing up Stacy.
I'm making a point actually, and the problem is when he backs up Stacy just by making sort of noise that's a like supportive hype noise, then it makes it hard to understand what she's saying or what the person who's responding to her is saying.
Well,
when people say you're wrong, Stacy, you're wrong, and I say you're right, they don't get muted, do they? Right. They don't get muted when they say you're wrong.
He's just trying to bring it back to the question.
No.
People have been joining in and saying to Stacey, you're wrong, and they ain't Kosho. The other people have been joining in and saying it, and they don't get fucking muted. Kosho don't like no challenges, right? In the day, no, I'm not having it.
You're not really letting anyone respond, so I'm not sure what the point is.
Yeah, well, I should mute people like Kosho does then, shouldn't I?
Well, I don't know what to do. It's like I was trying to respond to you. We're trying to have a conversation, but you just started saying no over me.
Let me know when you're muting the people.
Before you do that.
When the people join in on Kosho's conversation, make sure you mute them as well, and not just me, because I'm.
What we were just talking about before you interrupted it, Brummy.
Kosho.
We were in the middle of talking about something, and now no one remembers. So please remind us.
You don't answer that question. Private conversation.
We're in the middle of talking about something.
No, but Kosho, you're acting like it's a one-on-one, just you talking with Stacy.
No, it's not like it's a one-on-one chemo. I'm like when people come in screaming, and just because you want to have action or whatever, doesn't mean that it's not conducive for a conversation, dude. So we're not gonna fucking do that.
Well, how would you like if I muted you for 5 minutes? How would you like if I muted you 10 times and been a conversation? Would you think you wouldn't come in and say, "Why are you muting me for?" Cause some shouting to keep muting me.
This is just a waste of. This is just meta shit.
This goes against
just a troll.
Gem
it's just a troll wasting our time on meta
abuse, right?
This is just a troll wasting our time on meta shit.
Look, no one's answering Stacey's questions. She asked you at the beginning. That's what I can say that. You couldn't answer
because
that.
you don't shut up.
Hold on!
That's
because you don't shut up.
Then be more reasonable.
Then she asked you a question about the GMH Horizon, and you said,
so maybe if you shut up, maybe if you shut up, people could answer her question.
Anyone going to mute Brenda?
Okay, Brenda's interrupting.
Everybody muted at this rate.
Why is Brenda interrupting it?
Brumi was talking. At this rate, everyone's going to get interrupted. Everyone's going to get muted. So let's just calm it down.
This is the point. You're just muting him.
He was. Chemo. Chemo. It doesn't help to have two mods at the same time. So Brumby, go ahead and make your point, and let's not interrupt Brumby. Okay, let's let him get to the end, and then Brenda, you can then respond.
It won't be long. Kosho is monologuing a lot, but not answering the actual direct question. We're asking a simple question. Can you show me a gas container? Your answer is no, you can't. Secondly, she asked you about the geometric horizon. Could it be done without the history? How did they actually do it? He's not answering that question. He's talking about Eratosthenes. Right. It is an horizon, but it ain't an horizon. So you don't know whether it's an horizon. Just concede the points that you're making, and we can move forward.
Yeah, just like you lied about not hearing when MJS called me the N-word, you're lying by saying that I didn't answer any of her questions. I answered every single last one of her questions explicitly with the correct answers. So,
right, gas pressure out of container. Gas pressure out of container. Can you do it or not? That's what she asked you.
I said what she asked was, "Where's there a gas pressure next to a vacuum?" Which is what she said.
No. I asked you to show me an experiment with gas pressure without a container, and you never have. I've also asked
you. Exactly.
Not what was said.
And you guys keep muting every single person like Radwin or anyone else that defends me because you guys are scared. And it's the first time I got invited over here and I came. And I told you guys I wouldn't come because of how the disrespect on the other server. Now I'm hearing it over here. You don't want to hear Chico because you've already told me it's flat. Do you want to go there on the server?
Stacey, you haven't gotten disrespected or muted.
You wouldn't let her finish her point. What was the last thing she said?
Rummy is getting muted because he's interrupting.
What was the last thing Stacey said?
No, don't delve into that.
What was the last thing Stacey just said?
Don't go there. That doesn't sound like it's worth it, bro.
But you don't know what the last thing that she said, and you just talked all over her.
Chemo, you know that's just silliness. You know that's silliness. Come on, get a grip. So, should we get back to the argument, guys? This is sort of degenerating.
It's not irrelevant. When people over here are DMing and saying, "Oh, I want to support your Globe Light tour," you know what I mean? Because I'll never ever talk about being a globe again. I'll talk about flat Earth only, and then doesn't do that, right? So which one is an intellectual artist person? I'm going to get pissed, Kosho, because you made this a kosher show. You invited me over here and made it a kosher show.
Before I got banned from the server, I tried to say, okay, fine, I won't talk about the globe anymore. I'll just only talk about flat Earth.
And
guess what? I got banned, so it didn't matter.
Mr. Scott, you've got to do something about this. What was the last thing?
You're a mod too, Kimo. What do you want to do about it? What are you going to do about it?
Last point.
What do you want to do about it?
Shoot me, Scott. Shoot me, you piece of shit.
You want to accuse Kosho of being a flat earther? Is that what your idea is?
I didn't say that. Well, I know Kosho.
I'm not accusing Kosho said that, not me.
Let's go back to the chronology of science and its milestones.
Can't fucking do it. Shoot me.
So, what was your point, Kimo?
I wanted to know the last thing Stacey said. What did she say? Nobody heard it.
She just repeated it.
Yeah, we all heard it. So I think me, Stacey, Brummy, if we saw like this north-south circumnavigation type footage, I think we'd be like supporting the globe like a lot more. Kimo, would you get on board with that if you saw that also?
It's been documented.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, listen, Kimo, not Brenda.
Yeah, definitely.
Kimo.
They could show a north to south, like go around the ball and cut. Show it's a ball. That's evidence, right? Of course. Why
Yeah,
deny that?
yeah, that's been documented. So why do you reject the evidence?
Well, go on. Let's have a look. Then let's see it.
Let's have a look.
You know the flight that was just recently within the past couple of years.
Go on, then let's have a look.
There was a flight.
Did you hear his caveats, Brenda? Did you hear the caveats of what Kimo said?
Because I don't know if that's. South, if you can show 24 hours in the south, any of these things are shown. Of course, why? How can we deny these?
Yeah, there is 24-hour sun.
All right, well, don't move the goalpost to the sun.
All right,
the first
north to south flight all the way around the board. Get that done. Show us.
I
have been several circumpolar.
I have never been done.
Yeah. There have been several circumpolar flights.
Really openly video documented.
Undeniable. You can show it. How could we
Brenda,
deny?
can I hear proof, please, honey? Please. Can Brenda just finish because I'm interested to hear what she has to say, that's all.
Go for it, Brenda.
I said, well, there have been several claims made. There have been several circumpolar flights. You can simply Google that and you get several results. And as far as 24-hour suns in Antarctica, there is video showing 24-hour sun.
I know they've definitely said that they've done the flights. I know they've said they've done them.
Is there any video of that? Is there any proof of that? I don't want a documentation, a piece of paper. These people lie to me all the time.
Oh, well, documentation is all you're going to have because it's in the past, right? All you're going to have is documents.
Did
you just say one was done recently, somebody? Where is that proof? Is it documented only?
I do appreciate Kimo agreeing with that. Thank you, Kimo.
Look,
you showed some flexibility, and that's fair.
Yeah, we don't deny evidence. We're asking for it. We're looking for it. If the Earth's the globe, this should be something easy to show. Not difficult, right?
Why don't we have that proof? I mean, we're 2020, right? I mean, we don't have a live stream on the moon. We didn't see the Earth spinning, and you're saying that we only have documentation? Photographs and documentation. Wow.
Photographs are evidence. Photographs are incredibly compelling evidence. In fact, if you think about it, photographs are about the best you can possibly hope for. I mean, it's as good as it gets.
Isn't it? It's kind of interesting. It's like there is a certain bar to where, like, I can admit, like, okay, I'm not smart. Maybe I'm not smart enough to know all the possible ways that I could be lied or deceived on some of this other data. But hey, this type of milestone would be like so much more undeniable. And somehow, even if I have that type of personality, it's like it gets assumed I'm in a category of I would believe nothing. So the problem, maybe Chemo showed a little flexibility.
The problem, Don, is that whenever we provide evidence, you move the goalposts and you say it's not good enough.
See,
yeah, whatever. That's what I just don't know.
Brenda,
weird. Get on a plane, document the whole, make a big documentary of getting on a plane and fly all the way around the world, go over the ice poles, come up to over. No, it hasn't. I watched some shitty video the other day. I watched some shit video the other day. You're not listening, Brenda? Could someone mute Brenda because you're not listening? Could someone mute Brenda because you keep repeating to me? I'm trying to say something here. I've watched the video and it's absolutely shit. A 20-minute video of some bullshit people on a plane. I want to see proper people, get some proper credible flat earthers and proper credible people day to day, and then we'll all document it and make a big documentary out of it and fly all the way around the world, going north to north or south to south.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
What are you asking? I wasn't really listening. I'm sorry.
What were you saying, It's funny they were going to do a commemorative flight, but not for science. You know, they said we're not. This is a little weird.
All of that has been done, and when we provide the evidence and the documentation of circumpolar navigational flights, then you move the goalposts. It's not good enough for you.
Can I explain why it's not good enough for people?
I just think it's weird that you. Sorry, Stace. Sorry, I'm. Okay. It seems easy, and they keep saying we're moving the goalposts when I think we're kind of saying we've asked for a certain goal that's never been met. You know, it's just a little weird.
It's met. You're just ignoring it.
It's been met.
You see how?
No, it's not only that. It's really simple.
Blatant denial.
Let's get off on it for a second then. You want to know why?
Can we go on a vote? Go ahead, Stacey.
Think about Monsanto. I'm from Indiana. Okay, we're Corn, Indiana State. We hit here. It's like 2004, 2005. People lost their farms and everything. If you look into Monsanto and how they went from one place to the government and back and forth, and the companies to get what they wanted in their peer reviews and their documents the way they wanted them, right? Things safe for you to eat, as people are getting cancer now and dying. These same people are also lying and writing documentations and peer reviews for the same model. Now, I don't want to believe documentation because I know how Monsanto works and other things work in this world. I want proof. There's nothing wrong with that. It's 2020. This is settled science. Where is it?
It is settled science. It's been settled science for 2,000 years.
I've posted to you two.
Settled science.
I posted 2 flights, unless you don't care about it, because you pretend like you care about it, but then you don't care whenever it's shown to you. There's flights that go to Antarctica, that fly over Antarctica for people who are curious to see what Antarctica looks like. They fucking have flights that leave from Australia and spend 12 hours flying over to Antarctica. So
you know,
if you really care that much, go pay for one of these flights instead of saying they don't exist.
You sound very worrisome. That you sound so defensive.
Yeah, well, dude, how about this? Don't lie to me anymore.
Missing the mark.
You should never say that again. You should not say that these don't exist when I'm showing them to you.
Kosho, we are talking about straight over the pole type of flight. Are you sure that's what you're showing, sir?
Yeah, they take.
Or are you just
they don't take the same path each time. Sometimes they fly over the pole. Sometimes they don't.
Is there any one of them over the pole?
You might get the bad flight when you go.
Shut the fuck up, for real. Wait until I'm done speaking, dude. I swear to God, you're gonna have to stop doing that.
I've got an article for you. I've got an article.
You gotta stop talking, dude. Wait until I'm done, and then I'll be able to hear what the fuck you're saying. They fly over the pole sometimes, but sometimes they take other paths because they can't take the same path every time because of weather and this type of stuff. But they use it as an opportunity to tour people over Antarctica.
Prove it. Anyways, Kosho, I tagged you in a flight over Antarctica. Have a look at that link that I sent you. It's in the chat now, in the chat box. That's the that I flew over Antarctica. Look, it's fact. It must be true because it's on the webpage.
So what about the one that I showed you that's not fake?
What I asked you for a documentation, right, where everybody gets on the plane, everybody shows who they are, everyone documents who they are. They all make a big thing out of it.
Yeah,
and a proper documentation of a flight.
Again.
Set that up,
dude. That's what I asked you earlier. You didn't listen to what I said.
Nobody else would want to set that up. So you have set that up and to make that happen. No one else is going to fucking go out of the way to make that happen for you.
Why wouldn't they have already done that, Kosho?
No, people don't say, "Hey, let's set up and document this thing. Let's all sign on this paper and have cameras on us the entire time." No,
Yes,
this is a
they do,
stupid thing that no
Kosher,
one's
they
gonna
would.
fucking do on their own.
Of course they would. This is a big event. Flying around the ball.
Why wouldn't you have them? Why wouldn't you do that?
Exactly.
Because that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Of course it does.
Sign this fucking sheet that's going to be shown to the world.
You're flying
But what
around
happens
the
is
ball, Kosher.
people can buy planes or buy tickets for
It's
this
because
plane.
they're lying to you, Kosher. It's because they're lying to you.
Jesus Christ. Stop shouting.
Crazy pills today.
He's a lunatic. He's a lunatic.
Hold on, though, Brenda. You can buy tickets to this plane. You can verify that tickets are sold to this plane. You can find at least one or two people who maybe took a picture on the way to the airport or something.
A picture.
What you're not going to get is what you just asked for, and have people who all sign a sheet that says exactly what they're doing and where they're going.
Why
and
not?
The entire time. But there's no reason for that to exist.
Kosher, that sounds.
Why
If that exist, that'd be
That's as crazy as gravity. You know that?
No, let me try something. If I'm in court and the judge says to me, you got on a flight and you flew to Los Angeles from New York, and you say, Your Honor, there wasn't a camera on me the whole time. But the judge says, no, we have you boarding the plane in New York and we have you exiting the plane in Los Angeles. That is legal proof that you took that flight. It is not valid for you to come back and say there wasn't a camera on me 24/7. I could have parachuted out. No, that is not proof. It is legal proof simply to show that you boarded the plane and that you exited.
Okay, all right, I'm ready to qualify. Let me answer that. Yeah, let me answer with nobody interrupting. Right, yeah, you're right. It's no proof that he was on the plane the whole time. But if you shut the fuck, basically.
Why don't you want to
you're right, Brenda, you're right, because there's no proof that he was on the plane, but you know what there is proof of? There's no proof that you even went over Antarctica. There's no proof you went over Antarctica. You was on the flight. You proof you was on the flight. You went onto the plane, but there's no proof of where that plane went.
Yes, there is.
The location is
documented. It's documented.
Bullshit satellites fixing your fucking stupid head. We need evidence.
Flight records documented.
Physical evidence.
Wrong.
Someone fucking.
You guys.
I bet a bunch of aircraft control stations took records of where that plane was.
Really? They can see that far?
Yes.
Excellent.
Wow.
The thing is
That's neat.
The analogy that Brenda gave doesn't work because you're talking about we don't even have rights. How many times does a judge end up accusing somebody that's right at something that they shouldn't accuse them of, and they go to jail for it and then get out for it? So does that mean I'm supposed to believe that happened because I never seen it just because a judge said it happened?
Wow.
No, I want proof. That's not
proof curve either. So
what was said.
Right. So the proof that I took the flight is the fact that I got on board in New York and I left the plane in LA. That's legal proof that would hold up in a court of law. That would hold up in a court. It would hold up in a court of law.
But we're not in court. We're talking about intellectual honesty, things that we can prove, right? We're not in court.
No.
And the honest state, you can't prove that because, listen, what if the plane stopped somewhere and it wasn't accounted for and then no one even told about it because CIA and everything else? What if that person got off that flight?
Yeah. What if aliens abducted it? Yeah. What if blue fairies abducted it?
Oh, you're now getting into Narnia.
Yes.
Same thing you're doing, Stacy.
You are.
No, I'm talking about reality you get to live in.
Narnia is the belief that people on that flight wouldn't take video of it as much as they could.
Why would they?
To believe that it couldn't go off the flight?
What if you just want to live the experience instead of documenting every second of your fucking life?
Yeah, because that's what you would do on a lifetime flights.
Why would you constantly like? I hate people who feel the need to fucking document everything. Like there's no need for it.
Do you have
absolutely
any real
not
documentation?
Like I don't record like every time I go to a new place. Why would I do that?
Oh, so Andy, and that means you accept the Bible then? You accept the Bible. It's been written. There are thousands of people, millions of people that believe the Bible. So you accept.
Yeah, there's millions of no. Why would I accept the Bible? I have no good reason to accept the Bible. What's the difference between?
Because
the Bible doesn't have any evidence.
But what evidence do you have? Is what I'm asking. Provide the evidence.
This is off topic.
Well, I was highlighting the point that he doesn't have evidence. Andy, provide your evidence.
You're ridiculous, Chemo.
So you don't have it.
And to say you don't want to document something in history is different than somebody walking around with a GoPro on their head. Let's get real here.
Sorry.
Stop diverting and let's get honest here. You won't.
Yeah. The fact
If
that I
this was
bought
a
the
true
ticket,
history thing, right, and you're going to go and all
It
these people
is.
are going to be part of it, my name, I'm going to put on that. I went and did this. I went pictures, video, and
it is
everything, and
documented.
that would take place.
Stacy, you realize everybody that
flight
went
was
didn't have
documented.
any interest in doing that. They just wanted to keep
Right.
it all to themselves as a secret.
Documentation.
you had video from the plane as it was flying.
So just because I show you one part of me and Lansing flying, and then I don't tell you anything else that I did, right? And now I'm in Indiana. Am I in Michigan or Indiana?
I mean, it depends. Where do you say you're at?
Depends on what the map
You
of
don't
the
know.
seat
You saw
tells you.
one video. You have no idea where I'm at.
The video, there was video for the whole time when they were in the air of the flight that circumnavigated the poles. There was live video. I saw it.
Where is it?
Repost it then. Go ahead.
Evidence, Brenda. Where is it?
I would love to see that too, please.
It was.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch all 24 hours of it right now. So send it because it's like 3 in the afternoon, and I want to finish mine by 3 in the afternoon tomorrow.
Me too. Post it, Brenda.
It was live at. I don't know where it is now. I watched it live at the time. It's
Brenda,
it's on.
I
YouTube
didn't
somewhere.
watch it, so I didn't watch it. So that means it didn't happen.
There's the YouTube
That's
channel
what
with
you
a live
guys say,
stream.
right? If I didn't see it happen, then it means it may not happen. You guys said that. It was Jim Pana's words.
All your documentation is not adding up.
Right? I've never seen China. I've never been, so China doesn't exist, right? So therefore, if you don't show me that video, it doesn't exist, right? Using your own
The
words
flight
against
was
you.
tracked and documented by Inmarsat and by the Guinness Book of World Records and one of the false flight federations listed. So,
Remember when that plane went missing?
You'll find that all the documentation on this.
Remember that plane? Remember that plane that went missing? The M70 flight. Wonder if it went over Antarctica and then just they shot it down. Remember that plane that went missing?
Remy, you are neither cute nor intelligent.
Maybe it went off course. Maybe it went to see
It crashed in the sea and the parts washed up. We know that
Video I
happened.
just posted that shows them flying over Antarctica. This flight
Does that same thing apply to the whole China thing to refraction? Because you remember, China doesn't exist if you don't have you ever been there. So therefore, I have never seen, and you guys have never shown me the proof of refraction in that manner that you claim. So therefore, it doesn't exist. Thank you. Welcome to freaking flat Earth.
China does exist. Even if you have-
Welcome to being
that
an
was
idiot.
just gibberish. That was just gibberish. China
set of thoughts.
Proof.
China.
That's Jim Payne's words, not mine.
Stacy, China does exist, even if you've never been there.
That's what I told Jim Payne. So why are we having this argument? Are we going to go back and forth in circles? Which one do you guys
No,
believe?
Stacy, he was bringing up how ridiculous your argument is by bringing up an
he was
example
not.
to show you that
He
it's
used
ridiculous. That's what he was doing.
example,
He wasn't
right?
actually expressing that opinion.
It's called sarcasm.
Oh, yes, he did.
It's called
Yes, he did.
sarcasm.
Jem, are you online right now?
Understood what he was getting at.
I'm being sarcastic right back if you don't get it. You guys want to use it in your time, just like the scientific method, for your advantage and any opportunity, but you will not be intellectually honest about the things that we talk about. You want to avoid, and this is every single time I've heard about this server, is avoid, avoid, avoid. Documentation,
no.
you can't even prove me, but you say it exists.
What have you heard about this server?
Oh, a documentation piece of paper that does it proves the globe, mass. Is that what am I seeing? A geometric horizon and a parent horizon.
Can
Are
you
we
stop
seeing
building
diamonds,
like a
rain,
banshee for
Jupiter?
fuck's sakes?
Is the moon in my atmosphere? Come on, y'all. Uranus smells like fart. You gonna believe these people? They measure that with what? Did they bring the gas
That
home
was
and
a
smell it?
fucking TV show cartoon. You're crazy.
No, that's what NASA said.
No, that's what NASA says, sweetheart. I don't
This
think you
has
understand
a
your
bunch
own
of methane
role
on
model.
it because I believe that.
They said because of the methane smell that it smells like
so
fart.
he It said
Uranus smells like fart.
There's a funny truth that probably I would have shared too.
Of course, it's a funny truth.
Wait, how is that a
they-
truth? How do they measure the freaking smell of Uranus?
They measured.
That's a funny thing to ask. But jokes aside,
Uranus.
That's just I talked to you earlier with the spectroscopy. The spectroscopy gives you very definite spectral lines that are unique to each to different chemicals, different elements. So it's a very sound method.
That's witchcraft.
So where did they use it? Did they do it up in space? Where did they do it? Did they actually go there and measure this? Are they bouncing things, radio waves? They're smelling shit. What are they doing, honey?
Stacy, what are farts made of? What gas is that fart?
Oh, for the love of God, let's not go there, Brenda. Give me a damn break.
No, what is it? What gas? What kind of gas is a fart made out of? What kind?
You not being intellectually honest. I'm not talking about the fucking fart.
It's a question. It's a question.
I'm talking about a claim that was given, but I'm not going down the fart path. You want to go see gas pressure there too?
just cut to the chase, Brenda.
So she's lying. She's lying and being dishonest. She's lying and being dishonest.
How am I lying? All I said was exactly what science says.
It came from NASA's website anyway.
What gas are farts composed of? What are they made of?
She doesn't want to answer.
Are y'all really letting this go?
Answer it. No, answer it, Stacy. Be honest.
Are y'all really letting this go?
Stop, Rakia. Stop. She said she's not going to answer. So if she said she's not going to answer, I don't know why you would ask her again.
That's dishonest. So farts are made.
Her telling you she's not answering.
Then I'll answer it. Then I'll answer it.
Then talk about it. It's made up of a lot of things, sweetheart.
Then let me answer it. Let me answer it. Then if you're not going to, farts are composed of methane.
Oh yeah,
Uranus is composed of
I know, but we should be talking about it because it has nothing to do with them measuring it.
I am talking.
Yeah, because we've been there, right?
The atmosphere of Uranus is composed of methane.
Prove it.
And we did it with spectroscopy.
Witchcraft.
Just because you don't like spectroscopy doesn't mean it's not a real science.
Yeah, but can you before we call it nonsense, Brenda, can you demonstrate it?
Exactly, so I would demonstrate it, please.
Spectroscopy.
Well, go on then. Let's see how it was demonstrated with spectroscopy.
You say prove it. Millions of miles away.
Show us a demonstration, Brenda.
You disbelieve the proof. You say prove it, then you disbelieve the proof.
Well, let's have a look at it first. Let's see how you're doing it.
See how it works. Show me. Shouldn't I know? Somebody's going to explain this is what they're using to measure. Can I explain how?
I posted a scientific article on the spectroscopy of Uranus. So if you want to look at it and actually read a scientific article, go ahead.
But it's an explanation that you've just given to us, Andy.
You just want to disbelieve it. You're going to say. Is it
the same explanation, Andy, that you just gave to us?
Show me.
Of how it works.
Show me. And then when somebody shows you, you're going to say, no, that's wrong.
No, you're showing the explanation on paper. So you've already explained.
What else do you expect for a scientific observation?
Yeah, we want to see what they observed.
Okay, look at the paper.
Is it in
look at the data. Look at the information in the paper.
We want to see the practical element to it. Andy.
Can't we look at the objects and the elements? And
how do you know, Andy? They didn't just sit in there.
Yeah, are you in space with a satellite that has a spectrometer on it? No.
Are you?
So you're going to have to go with the observational evidence from what we have measured.
No, we don't.
Allow me to read the 5 to 37 micrometer spectra of Uranus from the Spitzer IRS were analyzed for composition. The abundance of CH4 is methane. Farts are composed of methane, so Uranus would smell like farts. Our results imply extremely high sluggish atmosphere, and atmospheric compensation is dominated by oxygen-bearing constituents, and so on and so on. So there you go.
It's a funny fact. It's something that, if you work at NASA, you're doing serious stuff, sure. And then there's that fun fact. It's a fun joke. If you work there, you just Uranus parts, and you post it, and you send some news.
Of course.
And then news outlets will pick it up and promote the website and stuff. It's actually a good thing.
I'm reading that article, and all I see is a bunch of ifs and stuff. If you read that shit. Really, really read it word for word. Words matter.
I'm sorry you don't understand chemistry and science.
Oh, no. I'm not saying I understand it all, but if you read that piece of paper, read it clearly.
Abstract.
Models that they have created to base it on what exactly what
because that's what we do after we make measurements. We make models. Imagination.
After we make a measurement and make an observation, we make a model after that reflects that observation.
All you have is your imagination.
It's abstract, Andy. They say it's abstract.
So what about the errors, by the way? You guys didn't confront that because it says there's errors in that, and they have to adjust to those errors. And they also, why are you adjusting to errors?
Of course there's an error.
Any more imaginary documents
we don't have
you want us to
100%
read?
confidence in any measurement. It's impossible to have 100% confidence.
How do you know how a phenomenon is working that you see and you think you know because you're not up there, you're just looking at it, pinging supposedly, right? Infrared off of it, bullshit, radio waves, nonsense. It doesn't even do that.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Let's forget that.
Just because you don't believe in spectroscopy, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work.
Yeah, Stacy, listen. These methods that we use, you can compare it to something like investigators who are investigating a murder or something. Who knows what the hell? Maybe it's a cold case murder. Who knows what the fuck it is? But when you investigate something, you collect the best evidence and you build your model of whatever it is, whether it's an event or whether it's
physical evidence.
You make a model. You make a model of it based on on all the information that you have and its consistency with each other and what it all means. And so, whenever you make an observation like this to Uranus, when you make an observation like this to Uranus, you're using all the best information that we can to come up with the most likely reality that there is.
Most likely.
And when it's wrong, what's that mean? When it's all wrong, what's that mean?
That it's not a perfect model.
Why don't you let Kosho?
That's all it means. It's not a perfect model because we didn't send a probe into Uranus and get the data back from it. And there's probably some error in the data because we can't measure every single part of Uranus at the same time.
If you're on the beach and there's someone 10 miles,
go to Uranus.
If there's someone 10 miles from you and you're there with your dudes and you think you can't see if it's a girl, if it's a family or whatever it is, you can then keep looking and then you get like clues. Like you're like, oh, they're wearing a bikini, so it must be chicks. Okay,
those are physically touchable though.
The more information you have is going to give you the more.
You keep talking about stuff that we can.
You're bringing up an example that your little brain could understand.
We can touch to stuff that we can't touch.
God
Why?
damn it.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
God damn it.
Yeah.
Mute him for the rest of forever.
You make your best model for whatever that event is or whatever the reality of that is going on there, based on the information that you have, and you make the best, the smartest inference you can.
I understand, Lou. So then explain to me that this is science. This is what's being taught to our kids, right? So explain to me how far Jupiter is away, right? And how you're figuring all this stuff out, and how they might be ringing diamonds, and they don't know all this stuff, but they know all this stuff supposedly, but they don't know stuff. Why does it keep going back and forth? What do you know? What is right? And if it's a might or maybe, if it's a might or maybe, it's not settled science.
All right, so nobody says that it's...
told you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that.
Say what you were saying.
Because I wasn't saying that anything was settled science. I wasn't using those terms. I wasn't saying anything was we don't know it either. The things that we teach to children, which I was taught things when I was a kid that are no longer true, like about Pluto or about dinosaurs with feathers or stuff like that. We find new things out and we correct the things that we're taught. But the best we can do is teach people the extent to what we know, and that's always been the case.
How do you correct anything? By repeating yourself. How does that correct it by repeating your wrong shit all the time? How's that correct anything?
They change it.
The corrected stuff.
You haven't corrected shit. You know you live on a flat plane. You haven't corrected that. You know water doesn't stick to balls. You haven't corrected that. Everything you're talking about isn't even true.
It's because the Earth is not a ball; it's a planet.
To be fair to Stacy, she's at least having a reasonable conversation, and then you don't have to derail it with this bullshit, man.
With
Stacy,
reality,
I posted the full paper.
Prove what you're talking about.
It's in chat. 63 pages. Have a look. It's more than just what the abstract was.
Too hard for you.
Kimo keeps unmuting you because he thinks it's fair for some reason, but it's not fair for you to interrupt the conversation by doing that, man.
It's not fair for you to keep fucking lying.
Speak reasonably.
Yeah, you be reasonable. Quit lying. Quit saying ifs and buts mean everything to you. Listen,
is he not?
If
is
you
he not
write
reasonable?
200 pages of fucking ifs and buts all day and go by that, hey, shut up, I'm not done. If you want to read ifs and buts in journals all day, Kosho, and keep worrying about it, listen, I don't care about ifs and buts. You can take those and stick them where the sun don't shine. And so can whoever's writing about them. Don't write about them and don't waste my time with that shit.
Is that not reasonable?
Be reasonable and get out of your shirt.
Let Monkey finally say what he's saying, dude.
Is that not reasonable to say we take what we know, the best that we know, and we go with that? Is that not reasonable?
Yeah, if you can touch it, bring it to me and show me. Yeah.
That is such an unreasonable position.
Yeah, I know.
Same thing like
when something happens to you guys and you need it to work the other way around, right?
Let's just launch them up to Uranus. Hope he survives.
Until it goes the other way, we can prove everything, but we can't make this. We can't produce air out of water. Only fish gills can do that. But you guys know so much.
Doc, let's go back to that beach example. Let's go back to that beach example again and show you how relevant that is and why you would do that. Let's say that you're smoking pot on the beach, or you're fucking snorting coke. You're doing something illegal on the beach, and you see that same group of people, and maybe you think it's girls, or maybe you think it's cops. The one thing you're not going to do is sit there and, because you don't know exactly what that is that you see, you're not going to say, I'm going to stick my head in the sand and not inquire or make some kind of assumption based on it. You are going to make assumptions based off the limited amount of information that you know, because that's the smartest thing to do. You're not just going to say, oh, well, we don't definitively know this thing, or the extent to which we know this thing is not 100%
What if I don't
accurate.
care?
So we're not going to have any ideas about it at all. That would be retarded. That would get us nowhere.
What if I don't give a fuck and I know that I'm not going to be able to answer retard shit, and I'm not going to put myself in a straight jacket position, keep saying fucking ifs and buts are real all my life?
Demar, do you have anything
I think you already are in a straitjacket.
Yeah, I know.
So is it okay to assume that everything in the globe model is an assumption then? Is that what you're saying?
Science is based.
It is. You just have to believe in it, Stacy. That's all.
Science is built entirely on assumptions.
It's okay to assume anything as long as you're willing to put that assumption to a test. So let's say
you guys don't need a radius now, and everything's assumptions, and science is assumptions. Wow, welcome to reality, you guys.
I didn't say this. I didn't say this. But it's okay to make any assumption you'd like to make, as long as you're willing to test it.
So flat earthers assume that they should be able to feel the rotation of the Earth when that's clearly absurd.
Prove it.
Tell me why.
We're not even talking about rotation. We're talking about what we're standing on. There's supposed to be curvature that you guys never show us, a geometric horizon that we never see. All these
pictures
things.
of the Earth, and you just say they're fake.
Too, then, right?
They are fake.
You just say they're fake. We don't know that. Hey, Chris, you can't post that picture.
What is an earthquake? Is it not the ground moving underneath your feet?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, guys, there's flat earthers talking over flat earthers, globers talking over flat earthers and globers. There's everyone talking over everybody. Just so it's fair for everybody, we'll do two things and not interrupt all the time, and also not take too long monologuing.
I heard the question clearly. Maybe someone can answer it. Earthquake moving under our feet. Can we feel it?
Yes, you can feel earthquakes.
Why would you not? But not all of them. Why would you not?
So there's tests have been done, which I'll pull it up if I have to, but I don't want to pull it up. I recommend you research it, where they've tested the minimum threshold to the acceleration a person can feel.
Joshua,
and
should we ask more irrelevant questions, or just let that be the last one?
Wait, I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Or should we just let that be the last one? What Rakia just asked.
Yeah, exactly. He was asking Democ's question, and it's a simple answer, man. You can feel certain earthquakes, the ones that are above the detectable range of motion.
The reason that you can feel an earthquake is because the Earth underneath you is accelerating.
Wow.
Really?
You say you guys are
accelerating.
Like, you guys are like, hey, answer me this, and then when we do, you're like, oh, ha 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 ha, that's stupid.
Oh no, I just said, wow, we're blown away by that.
That causes it. Okay.
We're blown away by the answers. Actually,
you have a better answer. That's the question.
You can't feel speed. You can only feel acceleration.
Acceleration has a bottom, has a floor.
Which acceleration are we supposed to feel? Spinning of the Earth, spinning around the moon. That's what you guys think. The moon around us going around the sun going around the galaxy.
I'm telling you the answer, man. You don't have to keep saying which one it is and name every acceleration you can think of. I'm telling you what the answer is. The answer is It's 0.1 meters per second squared on average. That's the minimum threshold of what the human body can feel.
It shows it.
So if I go in the opposite direction, you know what I mean? Am I going to feel it then? Or the way the Earth's spinning?
Yes.
Wait, no, hold on.
I'm going to feel that rotation going the opposite direction.
Yeah, hold on, Preston. What do you? So you mean like if you're in a plane going the opposite direction? No, you're not going to detect
No, I'm
any.
standing on the ground, right? Going in the opposite direction. It's spinning 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. Am I going to feel it?
Trying to answer a question to him.
No, I know. We're always the accelerometer got zeroed out while you were on the Earth. So when you go the other way, it thinks you're accelerating.
Depends what type of accelerometer you're using.
Yeah,
the one that does the Earth, the rotation accelerometer.
Yeah, so it's not zeroed out then.
It's not zero. It's going to be able to detect the what do you call it?
Oh, it's not zeroed out.
Yeah,
so if you were to fly in the opposite direction of the spin, it would get it to zero. Oh, okay.
If you have a sensitive enough accelerometer, it will detect the difference in weight. Like for example, at the equator and the north.
That's what got me to be the most globe believer was that data. When they showed me that, I was like, right there, it's the spin of the Earth. And the orbit, too. It showed the orbit also.
Download the app on your phone and you can see how it works.
Bob the Noodle Doodle, 15 degrees an hour.
Let's see if Stacy's capable of learning anything here. Stacy, why do you think you should feel the spin of the Earth?
Feel?
Shouldn't I?
I asked Stacy a question. I'd appreciate it if Stacy could answer.
Because I should feel that. I feel everything else that's going on. Or getting something else, I feel it. I'm asking why I don't feel it.
Okay, I'm asking you why you should. We get
because I believe that I should feel that. So I'm asking you with the globe model, why am I not feeling it? You said I'm not here to learn? Well, then teach me.
Stacy, there's a question being asked of you. No, it's okay if you can't answer.
No, I answered it and you didn't like my answer.
No, you answered why shouldn't I? That's not an answer.
Excuse me.
No, Andy, I believe that I should feel it is why. That is my answer. So I'm asking you why I shouldn't feel it.
No, ma'am. Now, the question is, why do you think you should be able to feel it?
I'm not going to keep answering you.
She answered it 5 times. You want me to repeat it?
No.
Because she feels
go ahead and answer that for her.
She feels every other. I'm not answering. I'm just repeating her answer that y'all don't seem to hear. Because she says she feels every other movement. And she feels that she should feel that. So I was asking why she didn't.
Rikia, hold on, man. First question was to Stacy, and it was after. It was after I had just said what the minimum threshold the body can feel. So we know now there's a minimum threshold the body can feel. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about why you feel it.
Which is so tiny that it's crazy, yet you don't feel it spinning around on a globe.
Because the acceleration on the globe is smaller
like
than the
40
threshold
miles
of a
an hour
human
near the
senses.
North Pole and at 1,000 miles per hour near the equator. You never feel the difference.
You missed the point.
Point should be muted.
Start having regular conversations, man.
What's the point? I thought you said I wasn't here to learn. Teach me.
There's a minimum threshold.
You cannot be taught, Stacy.
Stacy, the human threshold for detecting an acceleration via their senses is larger than the acceleration felt by the rotation of the Earth. That's all we're trying to say.
It's 0.1 meters per second squared. Anything below that, it's not going to be able to. Your body's not going to detect that.
Okay. Thank you for your answer, supposedly. Doesn't mean I actually have to believe it, but the point is, as I told you, my belief.
Believe it. Why don't you go look? You can either talk to Brian or VD, who are a doctor, or you can look it up in a medical journal.
That's my point. I don't believe anything that somebody tells me without research. I am not stupid. I'm skeptical, and I'm going to do my research on everything else that you're trying to push. Because in reality,
research on this
it's a lot of assumptions.
About it.
As y'all interrupt.
I never screamed about it. He asked me a question.
So why did you believe that you should feel that change then?
That number
you said you don't believe
based
things
on...
unless you do research. Why did you have that opinion?
Because I'm incapable.
Because I told you why. I feel like I should in reality, and I think you should too.
You haven't done any research.
If you had that feeling, why did you-
Brian, can't you see Dark? Brian, hold on a second. Brian, can't you hear Dark Star? Don't you hear Dark Star? Don't you hear Dark Star, Curved? He's trying to ask Stacy a question, Curved.
30, 35, maybe 40 people from our side.
Do you hear it? Do you hear Dark Star, Curved?
I hear chemo.
Yeah, Brian, do you hear Dark Star? Because he's asking Stacy a question.
I didn't hear him.
All right, so Dark Star, maybe you want to ask your question again to Stacy.
Chemo. Hey, Chemo, you fucking mom, you cunt. Did you hear me, Chemo? Did you hear everybody interrupting me, Chemo?
Yeah, she answered your question, Curve.
That's all you do, Curve. It's ridiculous.
She answered you 5 times.
No,
now Dark Star wants to ask her a question.
I would like to hear from Brian because he's the one qualified to answer this question.
All right, so you stamp all over Dark Star's question. You can't ask your question, Dark Star.
The short point is, why did you come to this conclusion without the research that you said you need to do in order to have an opinion? Because you didn't do the research in this case where you thought that you should feel this motion.
I'm talking about what I witnessed in reality and what I experienced. That's all I told you on. I'm a very honest person. So I've done a little bit, but I've not done enough. So therefore, I'm not going to speak on something that I don't know because it's called intellectual honesty that a lot of you guys need to learn on this server.
But you did speak on it.
A lot of us have
because
already
I
done
was
this
asked
research,
a question 5 times. That's why I spoke and got more upset
Andy, we can't
over
hear
and over and over
Stacy.
because I was asked 5 times.
Right, well then you should say, if you want to be intellectually honest, that you don't know. But you said, well, you should feel this.
I said I believe, again, not knowing, believe that I should feel that. He asked me why. I said because of my experiences of I believe that I should feel this. I asked what the globe model states. That was it, his opinion, and that's all. And then you're getting upset because you don't like my answer. Not my problem.
I'm not upset. I'm just wondering how you form these opinions. It seems like you have different standards for different propositions that are put to you.
No, it's actually called, I've actually done observations. I've seen it. I've seen 54 miles with my own eyes. I'm not going to sit here and talk about things that I don't understand unless we want to discuss them and have an honest conversation to learn, right? To learn. Someone stated that earlier. Yeah, you guys aren't here to teach anybody. You want to throw down some nonsense with no proof and assumptions, and they get on my ass because I believe something and don't want to be telling you I know something.
Stacy, by the same token, you don't sound like you're here to learn anything.
Guys, she does have a point though, and what she's saying, like we can keep out some of the nonsense or not ad homs, but just the pointless, the stuff that deviates from the argument. Both sides are doing it. They just come in and say nonsense insult, which takes 5 minutes to get through. So we just talk about the subject and go from there.
Okay, the subject is the threshold at which the human body can feel acceleration. You got VD and Brian in here who could address that question.
Well, I think they've covered it now. She's established that you can't feel it. You can only feel acceleration.
Chemo,
yeah?
Shut up.
No, she did not establish that.
Yeah. By the way, just while they're talking,
Go ahead, Brian.
I'm posting the studies in the chat.
Brian, it's your time to speak. Speak up.
Coach is already doing exactly what I was going to do, which is post the studies.
Okay, can you explain? Go on, VD.
In the human body, there are different type of nerve endings that can detect different physical stresses. One of them is pressure. There's a limit to how much pressure can be sensed.
Yeah.
Another one is heat.
Stacy, you getting this? So what are you getting from this?
Another one is vibration.
No, I'm listening, guys. So I just got the phone on here, but I'm listening.
If you're going to take anything from this, Stacy, if you take anything from this, pretending or assuming that you agree with these studies or you find some validity in these studies and there's a threshold, then you can go forward when trying to imagine what you can and can't feel. Basically, that's something that you got to put into the question. So when you talk about like the orbit around the sun or around the galaxy or the rotation, which is slightly different, but all those different speeds and accelerations, you have to look at what those values would be in meters per second and see if it's lower, and they are substantially lower than that threshold we feel.
What is that?
Is this all assumed and presupposed again, though?
It's
How's it presupposed?
science, right?
This can be measured. You take people, you put them into tests, and you measure how much they can sense. There's no presupposition in this particular point.
No, I'm just asking you in particular. Yeah, I might actually claim that it is. I would, because Kosha was saying imagine and assume in that conversation, so I want to make sure.
Use that word. I didn't mean it about that, but what rocket scientists had just said is the point is, so to find out the threshold, we have studied this in people. We know what the threshold is. To find out what the Earth's doing, you guys know the numbers more than most people because you throw them out a lot, and they're really fast speeds. But when you calculate what the acceleration of those moving bodies are, it's actually far less than this minimum value that we can feel.
And I can quantify that. In the Earth's orbit, its acceleration between apogee and perigee is 2 orders of magnitude smaller than the threshold of what the human can feel.
English, please.
Okay, it's 1 times 10 to the negative 4. Or 3.
That's not English.
1 times 10 to the negative 5 or 6 is what?
You said English, not Canadian.
It's like 0.1 meters per second squared is the threshold, and the feeling I think is like 0.00 or 0006 meters per second.
So basically, you're not going to feel it. You're not going to feel it, basically, right?
But basically, it's below that threshold. So
let me explain it in English. So basically, what they're saying is the measurement they get with their maths is not enough for your body to detect.
Isn't that what I said?
The maximal centrifugal.
Not in that simplified way. That's so cool.
Simplified.
The funny thing is,
they're pretty massive, of course.
The rotation of the Earth. Because I was trying to argue this the other day, but then I realized the rotation of the Earth actually is above that threshold slightly. But because it's not in the vector that it's in, you already experience weight in the opposite vector. So that's the only way you experience that is just less weight.
And it's also it's constant, so you always feel it. So you wouldn't notice it unless it changed, right?
And actually, the centrifugal force is still only 1/3 of the threshold needed to feel it anyway.
Can you guys speak English, please?
Yeah,
you're only covering one vector. There's like 10 or 11 other vectors you have to cover. The emotional complexity, the great attractor, all that. But you're obviously you're not covering the other vectors, so you're not really being honest.
So, Kosha, you said 0.1 meters per second squared is the threshold?
Yeah. Is it 0.03? Is that what it is for the rotation?
Yeah, for centrifugal force of Earth's rotation at the equator, it's 0.03. So you don't even get close to getting to the threshold.
For some reason, I thought it was 0.03% of the weight, but it might be 0.3 meters per second squared.
It's 0.03 meters per second squared.
You guys aren't confusing at all.
Well, we're figuring something out to each other, so nobody else should.
Well, yeah, I think you guys should figure it out. That's all I'm going to say. That's why you say you think if you don't know, you guys don't know.
Stacy, you need this kind of language to describe these phenomenon. This kind of phenomenon. So if you don't understand the language.
Magic.
That's not right. I was given wrong information the first time, then it was corrected. All I'm saying is if you guys are going to try and teach it like you know something and I'm incorrect, please know what you're talking about before you say it.
Who gave you incorrect information?
So the number I had was 0.02 meter per second squared. And so the acceleration of the Earth orbit is 2 orders of magnitude small. So 0.0003 it is. That's why you can't feel it.
Yeah, but that's only one vector. There's several other vectors you have to cover, which you haven't covered.
Like what, Lemon?
The motion of the Earth around the galactic center as the sun drags it also.
Even slower.
It's
a much smaller acceleration.
This is not to mention the great attractor.
Yeah, it takes
Lemon,
us.
why don't you describe me how you would calculate that?
Well, these are the people that say that we're moving. They're the ones who are supposed to calculate that. That's a burden of proof shifting. I'm not the one that's saying that we're moving. They're the ones who are saying that we're moving. They're the ones who have to tell us how fast we're moving.
You made the claim, Lemon. You made the claim, Lemon. You have to prove it.
That would be orders of magnitude much greater than the motion around the sun. The motion around the galaxy. The motion around the great attractor.
Let's see, Lemon.
It's actually more orders of magnitude.
But you're going more distant.
Lemon, are you
more force to go greater distance
with acceleration?
Yes, he is. He's mixing up speed and
Assuming
acceleration.
that we're going in a circular motion around these bodies, yes, that would inherently be an acceleration. You can't have circular motion without
acceleration is increase in speed. If you're constantly traveling at the same speed,
maintain
you're not
distance
accelerating.
around the central axis.
Sounds like you'd be able to measure that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You hit terminal velocity when you jump out of the plane for skydiving. You don't feel any more acceleration, really.
Lemon, it takes us 200 million years to go around we haven't even been around the galaxy 21 times yet. We're not even old enough to drink a beer if the sun was a fucking person. Okay.
How do you know that?
So because this is simple math. Oh, I shouldn't have said simple math. Yeah, it's just inference.
No, just when you said 21 times, we haven't even done 21 times. How do you know how many times we've been done?
Because I know how big the galaxy is. I know how long it takes to go around once. I know how old the Earth is, and I just did backwards math. But regardless, it takes 200 million years to go all the way around. So even though it seems like we're going fast, and if you did it miles per hour in comparison to the
250
center, it would be really
per
fast.
second to go around the center of the galaxy.
It's really, really slow.
Lemon, did that really
Google says
jump in the center of it?
Google says it's 250 kilometers per second around the center of the galaxy. That's about 8 to 9 times the speed of around the sun.
Lemon.
So that breaks your
Lemon. Hang on. Lemon.
Speed.
You need acceleration, not velocity.
A circular motion is inherently acceleration. You have to accelerate constantly to maintain your position around the central axis. Otherwise, you would go in a straight line forever with no change of motion. That's absurd.
So go ahead and Lemon, go ahead and calculate that acceleration.
Exactly.
Calculate that acceleration, then Lemon. Calculate it.
Oh, sorry.
To have a circular motion that requires constant acceleration. Constant change in direction by the raw definition. Otherwise, if you did not change your direction, you'd go in a straight line forever. By the raw definition, that is a constant change in motion and a constant acceleration. So why are you asking me to calculate a freaking math number?
Well,
when you know it's an acceleration, you're just trying to argue from ignorance and say, because I do or don't know how to calculate this other math number, that my point doesn't stand. That's dishonest.
Just one person responded to Lemon. I guess Brian.
It's dishonest if you know that that's correct, but you're not conceding it.
Hold on.
Lemon, we're not asking you to calculate this to make you feel like an idiot for not being able to calculate it. We're telling you to calculate it because if you calculate what that acceleration is, you will find that it does not match what your expectation of it is. It is magnitudes and magnitudes and magnitudes less than the rotation around the sun. Magnitudes and magnitudes and magnitudes even less than that of the centrifugal force.
The problem is all of these directions go in different places, in different directions. They don't just combine into one vector. So you would feel inertial forces in all sorts of different directions as you're being to this way 250 kilometers per second, this way 30 kilometers per second, and this way 1,000 miles per hour. That whatever that is. This is this is just becoming very improbable.
Actually, at any point in time, you can sum all vectors, and if there's the change between the vectors can give you something. It's just that when you actually do the vector math
in one direction.
Are you really? No, vectors.
Nobody's added these things up in one direction.
Yes, they have.
I can do it right now if you want me to.
No, they have not.
Most basic physics courses require you to do
one
this at some
direction
point.
in space. There's no reference to show that we're going in one direction, in one line, in one, plane or whatever in space. All of this is highly theoretical. How would that even be possible if there's vacuum space out there where we could go up, down, left, right in any direction anyway? There's nothing to keep us in one plane of motion as is. This is just absurd.
We're not in one plane of motion.
Yeah, we're in multiple planes of motion, and generally the reference frame is the plane of the solar system with the sun in the middle.
So, Are you saying that despite heliocentrism's claims of globular gravity, the universe, for all intents and purposes, maps out like it is planar and flat? Is that what you're saying?
Gravity is not a correct statement. And yes, the universe is flat, not the Earth.
And you have to understand what that statement means before you can use it for anything.
Yes, because
that's a contradiction. You can't ascribe the globe gravity and have a planar flat universe. You have to pick one or the other.
No, Lemon. Flat. When cosmologists say flat, that only means that geometry works in space how we would expect it to. Parallel lines will not converge or diverge. They will stay parallel lines.
That's inconsistent.
That's what flat means when cosmologists talk about it.
Cosmologists will all agree that space has 3 dimensions, that there's spatial dimensions of 3.
Yeah, you can have spheres within a cube. Basically, the universe could be thought of as a cube, right? You can have spheres within the cube. The Earth is a sphere.
Why are we thinking like that? Have
So
you guys
is
seen
the
the
cube a
cube
container
universe
then?
and measured it?
Is a cube a container
it's
then?
expanding.
We're trying to explain what flat means on the cosmological scale to Lemon because he doesn't understand it.
It means Euclidean. It means Euclidean. It's Euclidean.
I kind of was trying to get where you got when you explained it. I did, but to explain it honestly as a cube, that just makes you want to barf.
It's 3D space. That's all he's saying. It's 3D space.
I would just let's just disregard that then. We don't have to.
It sounds more magical, really.
I don't think I've heard
it's Euclidean then. You can just say that the universe is Euclidean rather than non-Euclidean.
Guys, and we've wandered way away from the point, which was dealing with the fact that if Lemon were to calculate the acceleration that he's claiming, it would be so much smaller than he's thinking possible, and well beneath the human threshold, even when you add them all up.
Okay. Can I see that calculations? Because you're wanting it from him, and he said he didn't have it. Can somebody give it to me, please?
Will you believe the calculation?
Right there, 7 times.
I'll look into it, and if it matches up and it is correct, then of course I'll believe it, because it has to be correct, though, and evidence of proving it.
You want 7 times 10 to the negative 21. And it's V squared over R, basically.
What's that, Rocket?
7 times 10 to the negative 21.
So that means that there are 21 decimal places before that number.
It's far below the.
I took 210 kilometers per second, and then whatever the 25,000 light years from the Earth to the galactic center.
And so now comes the denial.
There.
Yeah, I can't measure
now
that.
Comes the denial. Yeah, now comes the denial and the goalpost shift.
Can I please see that calculation on the documentation, please? Thank you.
Yep. Now she doesn't believe it. Now she denies.
No, I'm not wanting to believe it from a word of mouth. I would like to see it in a documentation of what you were stating.
Then do the calculation yourself.
Can we tell her what the equation is first? The acceleration equals the velocity squared over the radius. Is that correct, Rocket?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so just plug in the numbers. So what did Lemon say? 250 kilometers per second?
Yeah, I use 210. That's good enough.
You and then divide it by the radius of the Earth or the Sun to the center of the Milky Way.
Yeah, but there's other equations you can do for the acceleration for the orbit, because it's going to change.
In this case, we're talking centrifugal. This is the equation. Okay.
Now that's a very small number. There's a lot of decimal places. So how would we know?
Yeah, we couldn't feel that. That's the point. But once again, we get denial and goalpost shifting.
But once again, we are basing it on reality.
That's pretty neat, though.
Let's keep denial. There's no point in assuming that they're about to deny something. It just instigates a conversation about some petty shit.
You guys don't even say earlier you don't even know distances of places that you're not sure. You said that was literally, you don't need to know the distance of places. Yet you guys are going to talk about the distance of the middle of the galaxy.
Exactly. Thank you, Stacy.
Those are the
best
numbers.
knowledge.
That's the equation. Go ahead and calculate it for yourself.
I didn't get the same number as
Yeah, but
you.
we're also basing this on what a presupposed
Well,
radius of the globe, and now we're going to talk about where something is in space, and that's why we're not filling the rotation. That's all just
There we
based on
go.
not
You give her the equation, and it's more denial. Give her the equation, it's more denial.
No, you're telling me how you're coming up with it. And I'm telling you exactly what you're coming up with is based on a radius that you guys aren't even sure of in the first place. You're going presuppose where the middle of the galaxy is. You don't know
Hang
that
on,
either.
can we-
You're just with all this nonsense.
One second.
go
Andy,
again.
That was perfect, Stacy.
Andy, are you
You said
25,000
you
light
don't know the
years and
distance
converted
to
it to
Jupiter
kilometers?
even. You said you didn't know how to figure out the distance. You weren't sure. It was kind of, you're guessing. That came out of your mouth earlier. They were assumptions, the closest you can get. That's science.
You got your point, Stacy.
But if it's not correct, then how can you tell me that that calculation is correct and I should do a movement?
It's more denial. We give you the number and you deny it. We give you the equation, you deny. Everything you do, you deny.
Stacy, can we get back to the best that we know? Do you have a better solution? Like, if
Okay,
you're
there
not,
it is. That's all I want to hear. It's the best that we know. And if you don't know, you don't state a settled dang science. So am I throwing rotation right now? You don't know. Thank you.
No, we do know.
Cool. It's the best
That
that
was
we
our
know.
point. That was our point to begin with, though. That's what we said. Is that this is the best we know, and when we find out better or newer information, or falsified the previous information, we act
I appreciate it that you guys are finally conceding and saying that the globe model is the best that you know. You have no proof. Thank you.
You're missing the point.
Brenda, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Especially when you're interrupting people.
Why? That's all you're ever going to get. That's all you're ever going to get.
Conversation, dude. Stop.
All right,
but Stacey, right, yeah. So, I forgot what I was fucking saying because people have to interrupt with bullshit.
You were saying that science.
Okay, like assumptions of science.
Earlier, yes, that's right. Earlier, Stacy, you said the same thing. You said that we said it's settled science, and we're not admitting that it is. We admitted then that that's not what people were claiming. We're claiming that it's the best of what we know, and we hold that valid because it's not been shown to not be true. So there's no reason not to hold it as valid. But when it has been shown to not be true, honest scientists and honest people will act accordingly. And they'll change their ideas of how far things are, whatever it is. But if that's the best,
yeah.
If Jupiter is the distance we think it is because that's the best knowledge we have, there's no reason for us to suggest otherwise.
Oh, wait. If it's not proven and you don't know, then you should honestly suggest that it could be something else because you don't know. It's a theory.
We do not
theory.
Why would you think that? Why would you think it's different? Explain that.
Why would you? Okay, so there's a tree in front of me, so I'm a tree. Am I going to just assume that? No.
Now, if you measured it and you took your best measurement, and then someone else
you
came
guys
along,
just said it was your best measurement because you don't know.
Let me talk, Stacy. If you took your best measurement and then someone else came along and said, "No, that's wrong. That's different." What would you use to prove them?
That's what we're doing to you guys right now. The whole time, this curvature that we're supposed to see, and you guys deny that when we show you proof of that. Hey, there's no geometric horizon. You deny that. We're trying to now, and you guys don't want to hear it.
You use basically good logic. Basically, a lot of this is theory based off of poor logic. They're saying it's a ball despite lack of proof of curvature and poorly understood perspective. So the rest of that stuff that comes from that mythology can't really be built up until we have curvature.
Yeah.
Let's start
we
with
say
that.
stuff. We say that stuff because we have the evidence, not because we have lack of evidence. We say the Earth is a globe not because anyone, like there was plenty of people who will say it's 1,000% fact or whatever, and it basically is a fact. But the reason that we say that is not because of one guess or assumption. It's because the myriad. I mean, I'm not going to name them. It's literally there's half the people in the world have done something in their life that depends on knowing that the Earth is a globe. At least half, if not all. And so there's a myriad of evidences. And if the case is that it's flat and it's not a globe, then it's still at this point not fair to say that there's no evidence that the Earth curves and that it's a globe.
Who depends on it being a globe?
So it's a myriad, Kosho. It's just there's myriad evidence.
And Kosho, this is the point. You're saying it like it's a fact, and there are people here, an abundance of people who are challenging you on this idea that you've got, this concept So obviously, a couple of math equations are not going to prove it for a lot of people. They want to see a practical demonstration. See what I mean?
Sure, but you just restated what I said incorrectly, because I didn't say that I'm stating it as if it's a fact. I stated it as if was correcting someone who said that there was no evidence that there's curve. When
there is
all
no
we
evidence
have
of
is evidence
curvature.
Where all we have is evidence that it curves, and all we have is in 1,000 different ways to show that. I'm not saying that it's an absolute fact for that reason. I'm not saying that it's proven or whatever. I'm not using these words.
Kosher, how does
I am saying though that we have plenty of evidence to suggest that it is.
All right, but how does water curve around the exterior then without a force? How does that happen?
Well, through the force.
You know gravity's but Kosher, you know gravity
subject came out
because he's saying that there's curvature has been measured. Okay,
Yeah,
so
pseudo-curve.
what I'm saying that if it's been measured, there's a mistake, Kosher, because you need a force.
Big mistake.
You need a force, Kosher, for water to conform around the exterior of an object, right? So you know gravity's not a force. So you infer in that we have curvature without explaining how the water. Hold on. Without explaining how that water is able to stick to that surface, then you've made a mistake, and that's why you're being challenged, Kosher.
Right. So here's the
Big mistake, Kosher. So that means you're wrong. Fix it.
Demok, stop talking, man, or it's just gonna happen again.
Well, fix your problem.
But it's just gonna happen again, man, and it's just gonna happen regardless now. But the guy who came up with that idea, that gravity is not fucking a force and it's actually an effective curving of space-time, that same guy also came up with the equivalence principle. And if you don't know what the equivalence principle is, it states that this curvature of space-time will give you the exact same observations as gravity would from your reference frame. You're going to get it. I mean, as a gravitational force. So he equates the two things in reference to your experience of it.
All right,
and this is exactly what happens. So in every case that we witness gravity, it's not wrong to refer to it as a force, because that's exactly how it behaves.
Oh, I'll give it.
But it would have to be a force to reach out through great distances in space to pull the Earth around the sun, around the galactic center, around the great attractor. It would have to be a monumental force to do so. And for us to basically treat it like a force, but not show the hallmark of a force pulling and tugging, that at that point it's a special pleading that's saying it's a force, but it doesn't really look like a force at all.
I actually have to go, and this is the first time I'm in the server, and I want to thank everybody. And can I ask Kosho one more question, please? And I ask you, honey, I don't hate you, by the way. That's not the case. I just want intellectual honesty from people. So I'm hoping in this conversation I ask you real quick, you'll be that way. But when we had that conversation on this server, it doesn't matter what server, and we talked about 54 miles of Chicago, then we talked about that refraction, right? We had that conversation. You said either one, you're seeing too damn far, and the globe there's no curvature, right? Or two, that refraction exists in that manner of bending light. But then you also agreed that there is no scientific experiment to back that kind of light bending, only in a simulation that doesn't actually work correct either. Can you please tell me why that is then, and that you did say that? And why can't we see? I mean, we're seeing too far, right?
I said all those things except for the one about the scientific experimentation of refraction. Because although
where is that experiment?
I'm not a meteorologist or somebody who deals with atmospheres. I'm sure it can be found for you, but I don't have it, handy.
Well, I did talk to Jim Panda about it too, and I was talked about it. And the only thing that exists in anything like that is in a sugar medium. We don't live in Candyland, so I'm asking for a real one, and no one's provided that, just like gas pressure. And that's my problem, is we have none of the proof. But you're right. We are seeing things we shouldn't see, and we're not seeing curvature. We're seeing too far.
Results of this? Go to Google Scholar and just type light refraction. You'll get about 600
try physical stuff.
That's actually
I want a scientific experiment showing in reality that light can bend in that manner. Isn't one, and you know it.
In the exact manner.
That it doesn't require refraction to loom up the entire city. What could be happening?
You should be able to do that on a small scale.
Let me finish. Okay, I put a picture in the chat. What could be happening? It seems to be happening in one of the pictures that was taken. Is that actually there's the effect of towering, stretching the buildings, making it appear as though you see the full skyline when in fact you don't. And there's evidence of that in the chat if you want to look at it.
Is it only pictures for your evidence to prove refraction?
What?
I'm asking, is it only pictures that you're trying to show me to prove that kind of refraction?
Well, what else we're talking about the skyline, right? This is an observation that was done, and it shows that there was that effect, the towering effect on the skyline, making it appear as though you saw the full thing.
You're seeing a phenomenon, and you're telling me that it's refraction, and that's what's causing it in that way. I would like to see a scientific experiment showing light bending that can cause what I'm seeing of looming in Chicago above the horizon of 54 miles, and you will not provide it, and you can't.
Well, my point is, it's not just looming. If it was just looming, you might be actually right. It might be difficult to get those kind of
Can't be
conditions.
a
But
mirage
if you
either,
take
look
into
up
account
mirage.
towering as well, then it's much more doable. And this image, as I've shown you, demonstrates towering in the towers.
Maybe the image is just reflecting off the air, and that's why it floats in the air like that, Stacy.
It's not floating. I'm telling you.
The
it's
only
stretched,
other
and you can
magical
see it's stretched because
explanation
You can
there
compare
could
the
be.
observation to the actual proportions of the buildings, and they're different. There's something going on there. The explanation commonly given is refraction. You could say ether if you want, but something's happening, and whatever it is, it is an explanation for
Whatever it is,
the skyline.
whatever it is, it always makes everything look directly flat across from us, though. Whatever.
Well,
it is.
no,
But that's my point. Is that intellectual honesty? Let's talk about real science. Is that intellectual honesty to claim a type of refraction that you can't even show on a small scale to me in an experiment? You want to show me a photo of what I see with my own
I just showed it
eyes.
to you on a large
So
scale. It's better on a
therefore, I
small
want-
scale. I'm showing you in the real world.
No, you're showing me the simulation. I know for a fact.
It's
You're going
not
to show me the
simulation.
simulation, and even then, the numbers are ridiculous. I've researched this, by the way.
They're photographs from the place that you're talking about having seen, Chicago skyline.
So you're proving the phenomena with another phenomena of a picture. Can you please show me an experiment of light bending in that manner? That is a phenomenon that you're showing me again. Black swan, I get it. It's a phenomenon. Show me the observation and experiment, please.
Right. Your claim was that you shouldn't be able to see
Not
the
my,
Chicago
it's not my
skyline
claim. You guys
from
claim
the distance that
refraction.
you were at.
No,
because it's
no.
that was your claim,
That
wasn't it?
is the globe model claim, not mine.
No, that was your claim. You said you shouldn't be able to see the Chicago skyline. That's what you said.
Globe model states the curvature that Chicago completely should be below the horizon. We should not see it at all. So therefore, you're looming the entire skyline 54 miles away, right? That's a
Towering.
tall ass building.
But I'm not saying
so you can call it whatever you want. I don't care. Okay,
Me, I think.
call all
I'm not
five-
saying the entire
listen,
skyline was loomed. I'm
it's
saying
a new
part of it
refraction.
was
I don't
loomed.
care.
The rest would have been towering,
my
and that
point
gives the
is,
appearance of seeing the full
They're
skyline.
not
You
getting
don't.
it. Listen to me, you're not getting it. I don't care about 10 types of refraction. What I care is you proving the refraction that
Well,
you
you're
claim.
getting a little bit emotional now, okay?
Yeah.
Let's just try
Because
and
you
calm
keep
down.
going over me and you're not answering the question. I don't care about the damn refractions because you guys make them all up super duper high refraction. I don't care. What it is if you're going to claim that I'm seeing Chicago that I should not see in a globe model, then you need to come up with the actual proof of what you're claiming. You claim refraction that light can bend in that manner. Show me.
It's
and
in
you won't.
the images. You can see it. I don't know
It's
why you're
not
asking
an
me to
image.
show
You're
you.
showing me the phenomenon that I'm already seeing.
We've seen it with sugar water. But not
Guys,
duplicating
it's turn
conditions.
to speak, guys.
That's a different medium.
Termin is not you. Termin's turn to speak.
I've already talked about the sugar medium. Please don't bring that one up because we all know we don't live in sugar water.
Guys, please let Termin say
We
his
all know.
What I believe she's
Don't live in
asking
sugar
for.
water.
What I believe she's asking for is literally an experiment in a laboratory setting, 54 miles long.
Or with
No,
air.
you can even do the globe model of curvature. You won't show it. You guys can't. You guys just claim refraction based on something that you can't even claim. And that's your answer for everything. Because you don't want to concede that it may not be something that you believe and not know. Isn't that a little ridiculous?
Scientifically prove refraction. How would that be done?
Is she claiming that refraction doesn't exist?
I never said that, did I?
No, it sounds like she.
What kind of refraction are you
about a
talking
fallacy of
about?
composition.
Refraction to bend 1,600 feet straight across?
She will deny, but she won't claim anything. Huey taught her not to claim anything.
You guys are the one claiming that light can bend that way with no proof of it. You just stated, "Oh, I see that. That must be light bending." No, wait. You said that must be light bending in that manner because I see Chicago.
There's so much
That's your
you don't
example.
know. This allows you to speak so freely, so ignorantly, because of all that you don't know with all your pronouncements.
No, I actually know some things, and there's a lot of things I don't know, and that's the point. You guys can't be intellectually honest and say you don't know.
You won't allow yourself to know. Because
there's no proof to know. Show me.
You're a frisbee worshiping retard, and that's the end of it.
But that's the question. It's not whether refraction occurs. It's whether refraction is occurring the way that you guys are stating it over a ball. That's a good question.
Never told the truth in your life, Lemon.
Excuse me, you first don't know me, so then again, you presuppose
I need
who I
information,
am
Curb. If it
again.
gets
See what I
personal
mean?
like this, I get really bored. I do not care about what you're saying about me personally, one jot or one tittle. How can we prove that refraction is occurring the way that you are proposing over a ball? Not with sugar water, with actual conditions, and I guess with an actual ball as opposed to the flat surface that we see.
Because observations match predictions.
Turns out observations match predictions. Now what? Oh,
I just want to know, Stacy made the
No, they don't.
We're saying that 59 miles is what percentage of 69 miles?
That's not the question. Let's get real here. You guys won't answer the question.
90%.
You say they don't.
Something like 91
You say they don't,
92%.
Stacey. You say they don't. But what if those predictions did match observation? Then what?
Then show me the experiment.
Stacy, I posted a few of them. I DM'd a couple of them to you, and I posted them in the chat. Although I haven't read them completely, and they do regard accurate methods for computing atmospheric refraction, and also one is about.
But again, honey, they're methods and maths and things written down on a piece of paper, but they're not showing reality that light can bend in that manner. We're in reality.
Monkey
right?
said,
You're believing someone else, Stacy.
I'm actually trying to have a conversation, and you won't stop, okay? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is we're basing things in reality, right? Earth. We're on Earth. If you're going to claim light to bend in that kind of manner, you have to show that light bending in that kind of manner, or it doesn't exist.
Why are you just accepting what someone told you, Stacy?
I'm actually not. That's why I'm asking for you to show me that light can bend in that way. I'm not going to just believe you. Show me that it can bend in that way and not do a picture and a phenomenon that I'm already witnessing. I'm asking for a scientific experiment, and you can't provide it.
Refraction is something children do in school.
That doesn't
over a globe. Like at this point, you're asking for an experiment, but we got no details exactly what you would accept as an experiment. If we can't do that, if the small scale is not acceptable, what is?
You're giving me the closest, and I already know this because I've done the research. The closest you're going to give me is two things: a simulation, right? A computer program that'll show me that light can maybe bend that way. But even that simulation, they'll tell you looks ridiculous, and they can't prove that in reality. Second, the only other experiment that you guys have trying to do a scientific experiment is in sugar water, and it was done incorrectly. And we don't live in sugar water. So until somebody on this earth does an experiment that can prove that, it doesn't exist.
I'm saying that's the nature.
What would you accept? Is the question.
What was that?
What would you accept as a valid experiment?
Showing me that light can bend the way you're trying to say that it does.
Can you think? Do you think that can be realistically done on short distances?
You're the one claiming that light can bend in that manner in any way, shape, or form. So can you prove it?
I did not make any claim.
Okay, you're avoiding the question.
No, I'm sticking right to the point. You guys say that it's refraction and it's light bending in that manner. So please give me light bending in that manner. Small scale, big scale, don't care.
I'll get to the point. Since the point you came in, you have been extremely dishonest. And you've been demanding honesty for others.
Okay,
sorry, you
sure
don't have to do that. Yes, because you kept talking about scientific method, but you haven't used it for any of your arguments. And everyone knows.
I'm not needing to, and I am right now.
Quiet time.
Go ahead, sweetheart.
No flat earther is a flat earther because of the scientific method. So don't start asking for something you've never used. Second,
I am asking for you.
I did not. Listen, I'm being nice for me.
Well, that's pretty bad.
Second, I've asked you several times, because this is a question only you can answer. What would be acceptable experiment for you?
And I'm going to answer it for the last time. Please listen.
You better actually answer it.
Acceptable? Yes, I did. You can go back if this is recorded. It'd be great. An acceptable experiment would be you showing me that light can bend in the manner that you're claiming. for that type of refraction.
How would that possibly be done?
You tell me. You claim it exists. Show me.
So you don't know why you disbelieve it, but you disbelieve it.
Hey, Stacy, please
So
do
you
me a
claim
favor.
stuff you've never seen. You claim stuff you can't. You prove.
She's just another crazy flat earther.
Okay, but Stacy, please do me a favor. I'm posting a video. See, I posted those papers which have the experiments with them, which I think suffice for what you said. But since you asked for more, I'm posting also to you a video that's demonstrating these effects that are in these other papers. And just tell me that you'll at least look at them.
I absolutely will. But is you understand that how much light would have to bend for that 54 miles, right? So am I going to see how you guys can create that type of refraction you claim in an experiment? Is that what I'm going to see?
54 miles.
Well, stop, guys. It's helpful if everyone stops talking over people, Chris. Okay. You're not going to see it directly. You're going to have to, like I said, it takes. To be obvious, because you think about this stuff, so it takes thinking about these things and how you would observe it, and so the example in this video is the path of the stars and them on the horizon, things like that, and so those aren't like directly. That takes a little bit of inference. Like you have to be determining where you would expect them to be and how they're moving differently and stuff like that. But in those papers, they talk about how they actually measure them.
No, you have to. This is already too complicated.
Well, I mean, if you're willing to accept like an experiment that's done in a similar kind of way to the observations, George Natiuk, he did a long series of videos on his channel where he studied refraction using methods that are similar to the Bethel level, where he had like signs at different distances away, and he would measure the temperatures and the things that factor into refraction, and then see what the results were and what he viewed. But I think what you're asking for might not be achievable. The kind of experiment that you want.
Well, it's
then
actually
can I ask you a question? Then why is it claimed as if that's what we're seeing if you guys can never prove that on a scale of reality?
Well, because it is proven on a scale of reality, and it's because it's observable and everything that we look at. We always see the same thing.
But not in that manner. Only slightly, not in the manner that you're suggesting.
Well, where's the contradiction? Where's the problem? Where's the thing that falsifies it?
The contradiction is you're claiming that the type of refraction that I'm seeing and that light is bending in an unbelievable, absurd way, right?
No,
that's not even provable in reality.
I'm not claiming that. Who's claimed that?
Well, you'd have to.
Why?
Because you guys claim it's refraction, and that means that light would have to bend in that manner. So therefore, you have to show the phenomenon existing in reality, not a picture.
And always be straight across from you.
That you saw was affected by refraction, and I've shown you an image that kind of demonstrates that, how it could be the case that you believed you saw the entire skyline and you didn't. You saw towering, stretching, and some looming that created the illusion of seeing the entire skyline. I think that's totally plausible, and I think the picture shows that it could be the case for you.
Okay, so plausible, possible maybes are exactly what we're going to claim that we're seeing.
Well, why is that so bad if I say it? Like, you didn't give me any details of your observation at all.
You can't claim something is not verified.
Perfect, but you can't accept the black swan photo.
Okay, it might be helpful to, because I'm doing this as we speak too, is so that video I showed you is put on mute and just watch it while we're talking. So all you gotta do is watch.
Yeah, actually, I do gotta go. And it's been a pleasure, Coach Show, seeing you. Thank you for inviting everybody and talking. I apologize if I got heated, but this subject does upset me when people do this, you know?
Call refraction, and that's light bending, and now you're running away.
So her observation's not verified?
I'm not running away. Would you like to see? Everybody said I had to go. I have 3 kids here that I'm watching right now, and I also have a phone call.
Wow.
Get a life.
You are running away.
You're not running away, okay?
What the fuck?
I was on Twitter. Yeah, thank you, Coach. Every speaking about this shit.
Hey, Stacy, thanks for joining us today.
Wow, well, throw the first stone, why don't you?
Flat earther.
No, it's like you guys make it so people fuck. It's like you pointlessly make it so people would want to avoid coming here. There's no need to do that.
I've never heard you be a douche before. What's wrong?
Yeah, I can be a douche, and sometimes it's not appropriate, but sometimes it is.
Whale. I didn't say Coach Show.
Or either way, in this circumstance, there's no need to add
what the fuck, Leo?
I'm not.
You fucking ran it off.
Leo, you're gonna have a spooky Mormon nightmare now. You're rude to somebody.